What's up, everyone? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button on your way in, it will help notify all of the other YouTube subscribers that are subscribed to the channel, help them get that notification so we can get the stream started today. I'm going to wait about 5 minutes before jumping into the collection of links that I have to go through today. We're going to obviously go through the route. So we're going to retrace the route that he supposedly traveled the day of the murders. We're talking about Bryan Christopher Kohberger, the alleged suspect in the Idaho killings. So we're going to, of course, go through that later. We are going to go through the 3D model. I know there's a few other YouTubers that have gone through this 3D model of the house, but this is the best 3D model that I have found so far as well. This person has actually taken the time to go through and add in different things, such as photos taken around the house with paintings and things around the house to give you a good idea. We're going to go through all of that and more with the the suspect Bryan and the people that he knew. We're going to go through and talk about who Bryan was, what led him to allegedly commit this horrible crime. Before we do any of that, a little bit of, it's worth mentioning. This was on the Idaho Murders subreddit today. A mental health reminder. This person says, this is 4 hours ago. This person says, I just woke up from the most horrific nightmare, and I know it's because I've been following this case too closely. It's time for me to step back for a bit, just using this as a friendly reminder to take care of yourselves. And if you're having nightmares or mental health issues related to this tragedy, please give yourself a break. That is a reminder for all of us. Obviously, there's a lot of people that like to follow this true crime stuff, and let me turn my volume up on my... Sorry, guys, I reset some stuff. Hopefully my volume's a little bit louder for you. If you're following this true crime stuff, it can be very exciting to follow along and try to figure out why it is people do the things that they do and try to look into some of these different cases. But it can definitely take a toll on you mentally. So if you're needing a break, take that break. I'm going to say hey to everyone as they're joining. Like I said, we're going to try to kill about 3 to 5 minutes before we really jump in. Let me say hey to everyone. If you haven't already, tap that like button. Hey to Darla, good to see you. Good to see you. Joyce, good to see you. Junebug, good to see you. Deanna, hello. Darla, Cheryl, Ina, Rick, Joyce, I think I said that already. Yeah, Alex, Veronica, Veronica Way. I don't know. Mark, good to see you guys. Let's see. Let's go ahead and just watch this video here. We're going to watch part of this video and then we're going to jump into everything that we're talking about today. But good to see you all here. Also, thank you to the mods. A little bit of a animation there. We have a lot of new mods on the channel, and I want to get this out there ahead of time and just say, if you're a mod on this channel, please email me. My email is in the description or in the about section of my YouTube page. I will also put my email right here in the chat. If you are a mod, please email me. I want to get a conversation going about a group chat kind of situation. So look at my message in the chat. If you're not a mod and you email me, that is fine, but just please, just the mods, unless you have something super important to add. Anyways, thank you to the mods, thank you to the new mods, and let's get into this.
Say they have their man in the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. We're taking a look at some of the biggest pieces of evidence laid out in the probable cause affidavit and seeing where the defense might be able to poke some holes. Law and Crime Daily, covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everybody to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Jesse Weber. The man accused of stabbing 4 young college students to death is sitting behind bars in an Idaho jail. This as his public defender and prosecutors from Latah County prepare for what's sure to be a very long legal process. Since Kohberger's arrest in Pennsylvania a week ago and the release of the probable cause document on his return to Idaho, we have learned more about the investigation into the quadruple murder. Law enforcement sources told CNN that the Hyundai Elantra that Kohberger was driving was cleaned from top to bottom by the suspect. During surveillance of his parents' in Pennsylvania home and Kohberger's movements, sources told the media outlet that the 28-year-old doctoral student was seen wearing surgical gloves. Investigators believe Kohberger killed Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogen, Zaina Kernodle.
Hold on, sorry. Pausing, going back. Did they say his neighbors in Moscow or in Pullman? Hold on.
Parents in Pennsylvania home from top to bottom by the suspect. During surveillance of his parents' in Pennsylvania home and Kohberger's movements, sources told the media outlet that the 28-year-old doctoral student was seen wearing surgical gloves.
What? Okay, so I had heard that. I didn't know whether that was in Pullman, where he went to school, or where his parents lived. But tell me, if you saw somebody outside your neighbor's house, even if it was just a couple, even if it was around the block, not necessarily someone living directly next to you, if you drove by somebody that was just out and about in their driveway, I guess if you're changing your oil or something, you might be wearing gloves, but surgical gloves? I had heard specifically that Bryan really made a strong effort to clean his vehicle after the murders. So I mean, there's that, but it's like he clearly wasn't wearing surgical gloves on his way back home when he was pulled over with his dad. So it's like, I don't know. Very strange. Very strange indeed. Man, this guy, I feel like he thought he was being really sly and very smart with this whole thing and just completely botched it. I'll get to your guys' comments in a moment, and then, yeah, we'll finish off this video.
Investigators believe Kohberger killed Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogen, Zaina Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin inside of a rented home not far from the University of Idaho campus. At the time of the murders, Kohberger was studying at Washington State University, which is just a few miles away from the crime scene. When the semester was over, he and his father took a road trip across the United States in that very Hyundai Elantra back to Pennsylvania. I'm joined by my co-hosts and legal analyst, public defender Bryan Buckmeyer, former trial attorney Terry Austin. All three of us have had a chance to look over this affidavit, and while there is a lot of evidence against Kohberger, it's not as airtight as people might think. Bryan, you're a defense attorney. Where do you see the problems?
All right, I'll start with the first one. The pinging of the phone associated with Kohberger is strong evidence, but it isn't without holes that the defense can argue. Using cell towers to track a suspect is a common practice amongst police officers and can be very helpful, but when you start digging a little deeper, doubt may grow. Whether it's reasonable is up for the jury to decide. Cell phone towers can have a radius of up to 25 miles. Many, especially in urban areas, can pinpoint a person's phone to a closer than a mile because there are so many towers in a given area. Kohberger's phone pinged off the towers that's in the area of the murders. That could be only maybe 5 to 10 miles radius or maybe less. And when the school is 7 to 8 miles away, that doesn't tell us much. In terms of the path of the vehicle, that's more art than science. As the officer himself says, he knows the path and he deduced which way it would go, but what if there are other roads? We know that people from the WSU also go to Moscow to party, so going there 12 times could have an innocent explanation.
You know what, Bryan, I actually think the cell phone data.
So I'm going to cut that video there. I don't know where, if I want to have this chat. Maybe I'll put this chat over here. The cell phone tower. So that's something that someone raised this point on, I think, a Reddit thread recently saying, you know, cell phone data isn't always completely accurate. It can be within, you know, 5 to 10 mile, a mile radius. But it's one of those things where it's like Pullman and Moscow. Let me pull up on the maps real quick. I'm going to try to like slow down, by the way. In the last live stream, I was reading through the probable cause affidavit. I had other things I had to do after that, so I felt also extra rushed. But I was also reading, which I always rush reading when I'm reading out loud. I'm going to try to just really slow down on today's stream and just kind of go at my own pace. So if that bothers some of you guys, I apologize, but I am just going to try to slow things down today. But yeah, Pullman to Moscow, for example, is what, like 8 miles, 15 minutes drive? Yeah, 9.4 miles. So if we're talking about cell phone towers in, let's just say Moscow, for example, and they have a potential radius of 20 miles, I mean, I'm sure that they're able to get more specific. Sorry, one second. Okay, sorry, I'm back. What I'm saying is I would like to know how specific phone records can be pulled in terms of GPS data, because I'm sure that they can get a little bit more specific. Because say that there's a cell tower on the University of Idaho, which I'd imagine there probably is one very close to the university, given that there's a lot of students, a lot of traffic, usage in that area. They should be able to, you would think, pinpoint a more refined location. So I know that, for instance, the Chandler Halderson case was something that someone brought up recently. If you guys don't remember the Chandler Halderson case, just look it up. It's a horrific case that happened within the last year. They used Snapchat geo data and mapping data to be able to really pinpoint locations where Chandler had, and it's horrific, but had dropped off pieces of his parents after he killed them. And it was almost exactly where they ended up finding those pieces later on. So I don't know if there could be an app that Bryan was connected to as well, map data through his Google account, for example, that could have they could maybe get those before the trial even to get more pinpointed locations. So that's kind of where I'm getting at with that. I'm very curious because when they're talking about a broad range of 20 miles with cell phone towers, it's like, well, he could be pinging off of Moscow towers in Pullman or on his way between Moscow and Pullman because it's such a short distance. So Deb says maybe he went to Moscow for drugs. Yeah, so that's another thing. It's like everything I've been reading about these two towns is that they're essentially two towns, two kind of metro areas that are just connected by this road, and they're really kind of like the same place. Like, I mean, even the airport in the area is called the Pullman-Moscow Regional Airport. Anyone that's flying out of Moscow is using the airport that's in Pullman. So, I mean, there's definitely reasons for people in Moscow to be hanging out in Pullman. There's reasons for people in Pullman to come over to Moscow. Each of the towns has a university. So it's not crazy that he pinged 12 separate times leading up to the murders. Someone also asked if his DNA has been found. Yes. For those of you who haven't caught up or been caught up on this case, we went through the probable cause affidavit in the last video, but there was a knife sheath that was next to or underneath, basically next to one of the bodies. I believe it was Madison's body, one of the victims. And they tested that, and it came back as like a 99 point something % chance on Bryan Kohberger. So yes, they do have DNA. But yeah, we'll get back to the whole kind of location and like the map data based on his potential route in a second. I just want to go through some of these other things. Obviously, like I said earlier as well, we're going to be going through this 3D map. This is like an incredible map, or 3D view, I should say, of the house. And like I said, they've even gone as far as showing the different posters. So like, or not posters, but artwork and things on the walls. This is a photo from outside of the crime scene of the house. And you can see the good vibes neon kind of light with this piece of artwork here. They've actually went as far as putting those pieces of artwork. I think that this window, I guess the window would have been right there, so that would have been the angle. But we'll go through that in a moment as well. A lot of people have questions about DM. We'll call her DM, which is one of the surviving roommates. And I want to get into that. Obviously, there's a lot of questions surrounding her because she, in the affidavit, supposedly saw Bryan leaving the scene. Now, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about that. You know, why did she wait until the morning to call 911? I just want to read what this person says on the r/Idaho Murders subreddit. This person says, so sick of the victim blaming. Truly, it's driving me insane. The amount of people I have seen on TikTok, Facebook, and the like questioning D, which is Dylan. We'll call her DM. Questioning D for not calling 911 for 8 hours if she was even the one to do it. And that's another thing. We don't even know the exact surviving roommate that called 911. People insinuating that she is to blame for the police not coming faster, and then when you call them out, they deflect and insist that they're just wondering. It's so disgusting. I feel like anyone with half a brain cell or half a brain can understand that this is a horrific situation that none of us can even begin to fathom. I can think of several scenarios that could have kept Dee from calling, yet people want to question her and blame her as if she isn't feeling enough guilt, shame, and grief. Seriously hope she is a good support system. I seriously hope she has a good support system. I worry about her and I think of her constantly. So just like Tess said, Kiera says Dylan is a victim too, and we should pray for her. I mean, it's one of those things. We definitely shouldn't be berating her at this point because she is likely going to be a witness in this trial at some point, and I hope that she feels the strength to come forward and to be able to like truly give her statement, because I mean, she is the one who supposedly identified him to law enforcement after as well. She said she saw his bushy eyebrows. He was in a mask of some sort that was covering his mouth. So really, she's a really integral part of the case, and definitely shouldn't be attacked. And then another person on the subreddit, the Idaho Murder subreddit, says, and this is someone completely unrelated to the case, but they say, I heard a murder occur next door when I was 18 years old. I did almost exactly what DM did. This person says their story is that they were in I was a senior in high school when I was asked to house sit for a family friend for about a week while they were out of town. On the fourth night, I was lying in bed, window open, when I heard it happen. This was a small neighborhood, and the houses were very close together. I couldn't really make out any words, but I heard two people arguing, some loud thumps, then a short scream. I got up, looked outside the window. I didn't see anything. I shut the window and went under the bed. I remember even tweeting while under the bed something along the lines of, I don't know what's happening next door, but I hope I don't end up murdered, LOL. After an hour or so, I got back in bed and went to sleep. Now, this isn't the exact same scenario as DM in the house next to Ethan and Xana's room. Obviously, it's a slightly different scenario, but this is a situation that's similar where this person clearly heard something and didn't do anything. She goes on to say, or they go on to say, they never asked me why I didn't call the police, but I wondered why. When they rolled the guy's body out on a stretcher, I went hysterical. The officer who stayed with me told me it wasn't my fault. Why didn't I call? I don't know. Maybe because you hear things all the time. You hear kids screaming while playing, people fighting. You hear what may possibly be a gunshot, but make up 100 explanations that it must be something else. Because things like that just don't happen. Sure, you're a little freaked out, you hide, and you're scared, but you don't actually believe something like this happened. Please be kind to DM. I've been in her shoes. You're scared, in shock, maybe in denial. You truly don't know how you'll react until you're in the situation. So it's one of those things. We just have to be careful with how we talk to talk about these surviving roommates. We can question it all we want, and we can say, you know, it's pretty strange to think that she saw somebody in the house, and like we can talk about it without blaming her, because I mean, here's the thing. I don't believe, based on what early reports of the autopsies revealed, I don't believe anything that she could have done in that moment would have necessarily saved Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, or Maddie. So it's the whole thing, it can just be summed up as horrific, and she's caught in the middle of all of it. But it does make you wonder. So that's another thing. There's still a place for that conversation, because the story is a little bit weird. It makes me, what it really makes me wonder is, what was this house like on a normal basis? We have the 911 calls. If you guys have followed the case for a while, you will remember the 911 calls that came out in the past few weeks leading up to the arrest of Bryan Kohberger, showing the noise complaints at the house from several months ago, back in September of 2022, just a few months before the murders. And you have people partying in the house that claim to not know who the owners of the house are. You have people partying there. There's noise complaints happening all the time, often at least. And it makes you wonder, like, was it pretty common for a Saturday night to be pretty chaotic at this house? I mean, was this person did DM just think that this guy, that there was, I mean, what she heard was strange though. People saying, whoever said like, "Oh, I'm going to help you" or whatever. I mean, it just, I don't know. It's hard to say, but it really makes me wonder what this house was like on a normal Saturday night. Was it uncommon to see complete and total strangers walking around? And I'm sure to some extent, yeah, it was pretty normal. So I'm going to read some of your guys' comments now. Dismissing natural instincts that are telling you to be fearful is not a trauma situation. It is someone choosing to ignore their inbuilt security system. We are born with it for a reason. It sounded like a frat house. Anything could appear at 4 a.m. at night and of the week, but she never expected this. Yeah, that's a good point. It definitely seemed pretty party heavy. She said she was frozen in fear, so she knew it wasn't normal. That's a good point, too. If she was frozen in fear, that is not a normal situation. And I do mean early Sunday morning. Thank you, Braze. Saturday night is the night of partying that led into into Sunday, obviously. So all of this, technically, when they arrived back at the house, was Sunday morning. Remember the neighbor? I think it was Jack D's roommate that had a mask that he wore all the time. I wonder maybe she thought that was him. Yeah, I mean, there were people that wore masks in videos that came out later on that we saw that it's just like, who knows if that was a thing. I mean, I don't know. Anyways, continuing on. Why is this not? Yeah, okay, we're full screen. There's another thing that's very interesting that I came across. And it is this Reddit post saying that there is a reason why we all thought the other two housemates were asleep downstairs. Now, keep in mind, on the second floor, this is the second floor here. The latent footprint that supposedly was seen leaving the area where DM saw Bryan would have been in this area right here, heading towards the kitchen, okay? And then out here, we have this room right here would be bedroom 2, which they're considering DM's bedroom, okay? So DM would have been looking out the door, okay, to the hallway, and then right around the corner, there's the living room right here, and then there's the latent footprint. And then this would have been the bedroom where Ethan and Xana were at, okay? So basically, whoops, just completely almost knocked that over. I completely lost my train of thought. Hold on. I had something pulled up here. The reason why so the two housemates that were asleep downstairs. So since the beginning of all this, we've always heard that the two surviving roommates were asleep downstairs. This person says, I'm sure someone else has made the observation on one of the many mega threads, but it's only just occurred to me. They say, police didn't want to let Kohberger know there was a surviving eyewitness who may be able to identify him. Because we know that obviously DM saw Kohberger leaving the property, leaving the premises. They got the latent footprint. She was able to let them know. He had the bushy eyebrows, so on and so forth. What if Kohberger didn't see her? We don't know if he even saw her. She could have been kind of looking through the crack of her bedroom door. Her light could have been off. The hall light could have been off. We don't know the exact scenario. So it would make sense for law enforcement not to let out the information that, hey, we have a surviving roommate that saw him leave on the second floor, the middle floor of the house, because Kohberger at that time was not caught. And, to avoid spooking him, like they go on to say, and because the surviving housemate must have already been living in absolute terror, that the killer would find her and where she was and try to eliminate her. I don't know if that's the exact reason, but I think people obviously just assumed that the two surviving roommates were downstairs the entire time. So this whole DM being on the second floor thing really obviously shakes things up, because it's that much more crazy to think that he walked right past her. But it makes sense why they would never put that out. I mean, it is a witness seeing him leave the scene. Or did he see her but wants someone left behind to tell the story because he's that kind of into that kind of stuff? Yeah, we have no idea. He may have absolutely... That'd be so brazen to just absolutely leave the scene and assume that you have someone that saw you, and then not... I mean, he obviously left very quickly thereafter, but it's like, I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say he probably didn't see her, but who knows? DM probably sat on her bed scared and out of her mind, wondering if she was coming back and ended up falling asleep. E says, yeah, if he saw her, she wouldn't be here. Yeah, my thought is that as well. I mean, if Bryan killed 4 people, who's this, like, why would he stop there unless he just figured he needed to get out of there for some reason or other. Blue Fame Integration says she probably knew he killed them and she hid in a closet. I would have stayed hidden too, in shock. Yeah, the whole hidden, I mean, that's where it goes, it's like, who knows how you would react until you're in a situation like that. I would hide in the closet, but I think I would eventually make my way to calling 911, like, naturally but then again, I don't know how I would react in a kind of a state of shock. Let's see. Lynn says Ted Bundy left 2 surviving roommates. Yeah, it's definitely not unheard of. It's happened before. A lot of people also said that maybe he wanted to have 4 victims in his first situation, like he was mirroring BTK, and I think I don't think that that's the case at all. Personally, I don't think he was there to kill 4 people. I think, we've heard early on about potential stalkers with Kaylee. I mean, who's to say one or both, or, a couple of people, Kaylee and Maddie, were being stalked? I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people also think with the sheath being found near the 2 victims in the upstairs, Kaylee and Maddie, people are thinking that is where the murders may have started. If he took the knife sheath off of the knife and then he forgot to get it, and then possibly Xana was throwing away her Postmates in the trash and intercepted him out in the hallway, and then he had to kill her as well. But that goes to kind of the timeline of events, which I will get to that in a moment. Guys, if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content, and ring the bell notification. We are at 794 viewers and 237 likes. So we're about half an hour into the stream now. If you haven't already, tap that like button. It really helps out the stream. But this person on Reddit says, does anyone else find it odd that Bryan pulled up to the house and went straight in? The timeline in the affidavit makes it seem like BK pulled up to the house and went right in. Obviously, it sounds like he did some sort of, like, he turned the car around or whatever. Excuse me. But it does seem kind of strange the way he goes basically straight in. My thought is, did he know? I mean, he wouldn't have known that Xana was making a Postmates order. Excuse me. He wouldn't have known that Xana was making the Postmates order, but maybe he saw the Postmates delivery guy get there and he followed her in. He says, we know there are at least 4 cars parked out front. How did he know he wasn't walking into a situation where everyone was sitting together partying or watching a movie, creating a 6-on-1 situation? So that just goes to the whole, we have no idea. He may have been following them this whole time. He may have known at the very least there was only 6 people in the house. We have no idea. But this person commented and says, I think he was stalking them and knew their habits well and took a risk. It's Saturday night and these kids have all been out drinking and partying. By 4 o'clock, the house would be filled with intoxicated young adults who just want to go to bed and sleep. He knew at that time that they would be most vulnerable, especially with their door being unlocked. Personally, I think it could have been a situation where maybe he saw the Postmates driver make the order, and he may have honestly just taken that as an opportunity and gone straight back to the house, knocked on the back sliding door or whatever, and then Xana could have honestly come to the door like, hey, maybe it's the Postmates guy dropping off the food. Maybe he missed a piece of food or whatever. He was going to act like the Postmates driver. I have no idea, but I would imagine they would have come to the door, especially after having a Postmates delivery happen right before that at roughly just after 4 a.m, when we know that Xana took a Postmates delivery in. So this is where the conversation goes to the DoorDash entry. This person says the DoorDash came around 4 a.m. His car was seen as early as 2:39 a.m., but the crime took place just after 4 a.m. and was over by 4:20 a.m. Then there's the statement, there's someone here at that time. So we can assume he came in with the DoorDash delivery or somehow got through the door straight after. I think it's probably after. I think the DoorDash guy would have probably been weirded out. Then again, if a DoorDash was happening and you're just like told the guy going up to the building, like, oh, hey man, I'm just coming in here as well. He could have just, I don't know. Maybe he entered in with the DoorDash guy. That will come out. If that's the case, they're going to have the DoorDash guy as a witness in the trial for sure. But I think that's going to be a big thing that gets revealed in the trial is like, how did he gain entry to the house? Or was it just unlocked? Did they give him access to the house afterwards? I think it possibly was an after the DoorDash situation. Perhaps he called when the other guy left and was let in on the assumption that he was the DoorDash guy. Exactly. I believe he saw the DoorDash happen. It was approximately 4 a.m. So it could have been 4:03 or 4:05 after BK arrived outside the home. So this person goes on to edit and says, so if I was a detective and wanted to know it was part of the entry plan, I would want to know if A, there was a pattern of DoorDash deliveries around that time, and B, if those coincided with nights we know BK was in the area stalking the house. This would then give us a picture to know if it was part of his plan or not. That's a good point as well. We have no idea how common a DoorDash delivery between the hours of 2 and 4 in the morning were on a Saturday night into Sunday morning. But I mean, that all is there. I mean, they're going to be able to access the records of both Madison, Ethan, Xana, and Kaylee, specifically Madison, since she did create a DoorDash order. How common was that? Even if it was twice a month, there's a chance that of the 12 times he was in that area, he stalked and realized that they often would have DoorDashes show up late at night. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Sylvia says he probably saw the lights were off upstairs and that was his target. Kaylee was temp in town and this was his only shot. Cops would have been there if he went in with DoorDash. Yeah, that's a good point. But then again, I don't know if he like went in with the DoorDash guy, he could have been like, hey, I'm here to meet with my friends upstairs. And he could have just went right past Xana. It could have been a weird thing. That's another thing. Like, was the food even eaten? I mean, obviously they're going to know that because all that evidence is in the house. They have a much better idea of the exact order in which things happen, I'm sure. DoorDash would never enter the house. Jason, I'll be honest with you. I've had DoorDash enter the breezeway of my house. It's one of those things. And especially there, like in a college town like that, they've got that sliding glass door. You never know. On DoorDash, you can sometimes let them know specific instructions and you can tell them, hey, when you get to the house, knock on the side door. That's where I'll meet you. Or, hey, just come into the sliding glass door. You know, who knows what their specific directions were as well. They may have absolutely let the DoorDash guy come. I mean, they may have known the DoorDash guy. I think that this town is small enough to where there's probably, I think they said there's only like 2 or 3 Uber drivers in the entire town. So they may know the DoorDash guy on a semi-personal level. I mean, even the guy that ended up speaking later on to Brian Enton of News Nation at the vape shop was familiar enough with his customers, not to say that they were friendly enough with the DoorDash guy or the DoorDash girl, but you know, it's crazy hours for the DoorDash guy, as Linda says. And so maybe that's like the only DoorDash guy that works those hours as well. And if he did come to the house often, you never know. They may have had more of a, not personal relationship with him, but they may have known. DoorDash isn't likely to come around back as dark as it was before this happened. I mean, likely not, but there could have been a porch light on, and they still could have. We have no idea. But anyways, the DoorDash thing definitely is very interesting to me. This other person says, is it a possibility this accidentally turned into a mass murder? This is purely speculation. The more I think about this crime, I wonder if he only had one person in mind. This person says Maddie, and everyone else was very unlucky in being in the wrong place at the wrong time. One theory from initial evidence is that he was stalking someone, having been near the house multiple times in the months leading up to the crime. Let's suppose this was Maddie, given it's her room he went to first. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. One theory from initial evidence, he was, okay, so yeah. BK, for whatever sick reason, decides he wants to kill her. He arrives at the house with his one victim in mind, but as fate has it, Kaylee is in the same bed and not asleep in her own room, so that's one additional victim he'd not planned on. Additionally, we have speculated that Xana likely returned from the kitchen to dispose her DoorDash delivery, or in any case was definitely up as she had taken that order and was active on TikTok. Once again, in the affidavit, they talk about the phone records of Xana and confirming that she was active on TikTok after 4 a.m. BK encounters her, another unplanned victim he wouldn't have predicted running into at 4:15 a.m. She runs back to her room where he kills her, making it a second unplanned victim, where lo and behold, her boyfriend is also there too, so he has to kill him, making it a fourth victim and another one more than he'd planned. I just wonder if the other three victims were surprises for him. Many have speculated this can't be his first murder, given he killed 4 at once, but perhaps this wasn't how he'd intended it, and it was an unfortunate turn of fate. Personally, that feels like it could be like a possibility for sure. RG says he probably didn't expect to find the two girls together. Yeah, I mean, we have no idea. Yeah, we have no clue. But it's definitely a possibility. One other thing we're going to get into before we get into the maps is kind of the online posts or the potential online posts of Bryan. Before, I should have done the trigger warning. We have new animations. Trigger warning for anything we talk about. Obviously, we're going to be talking a little bit more on the mental health side of things, and we're obviously talking about a very horrific crime in this stream. There's a trigger warning for that. If any of that stuff bothers you, this might not be the video for you. We're going to go into a potential online post of Bryan from 10 plus years ago. So we're going to do that momentarily. Guys, 1,000 people in the chat, 341 likes. Thank you to the 341 of you who have hit the like button already. If you haven't already, hit that like button. It really helps out the stream. And yeah, let's jump into this video.
Old Bryan Kohberger is. The forum was actually found through using an old email of Bryan Kohberger. That is how the friend of our podcast actually found this forum, is through Bryan Kohberger's old email address that they had. So with that being said, no law enforcement official has confirmed to us that this is indeed Bryan Kohberger writing in 2011. We'll let you decide that for yourself. But it was compelling enough with all of those facts that we believe that we have landed upon some earlier writings of Bryan Kohberger when he was a teenager. With that being said,
so we're going to get into that. The posts that she's referring to are these posts that are on Reddit. I'm going to read through these. These are allegedly posts from Bryan from July 4th, 2011. It's really, really, really hard to see it. I'll try to circle it here. You can kind of see it like up here. Let me try to up here. I think it says, yeah, July 4th, 2013. he goes on to say, if this is indeed Bryan, he says, I have this terrible, horrible depersonalization go on in my life for almost 2 years. I often find myself making simple human interactions, but it is as if I'm playing a role playing such game as Oblivion. I can see what is going on. I am slightly into it, but I can pause the game and focus on my life. In this case, my life is the game, and my old self can be reached by pausing the game. But how? I often think of things that humans do, things I have done in my whole life. I feel like an organic sack of meat with no self-worth, as I am starting to view everyone as this. Everything I have ever done makes no sense. Wait, hold on. Sorry, this is the second. This is the second of the two. Hold on, I'm gonna read this one first. Sorry, we're gonna get into the next one. I don't know if it matters that these are in order or not, but I'm gonna read this one first. He says, I felt completely disconnected from reality. I feel all the time that I am living in my own reality. It seems as if my brain chemistry is altered from this, even though I am certain it's not. At first, I felt very uninterested in the things I usually like to do, but then it changed to the point I saw no reason for anything, and everything became boring to me. I feel at times completely disconnected and as if I can't live like a normal person. When I think about my future, I think about how I will barely remember my mother and father, etc., because I have an altered memory, and also have been able to think of them, been unable to think of them due to the 10 things I think about nonstop at once. Visual snow, altered brain, tinnitus, disappointment, regret, etc. I think that possibly I could have brought this onto myself from post-traumatic stress disorder or something similar, but I can't tell what it is. I have had 2 medicines mixed. I don't even want to try to pronounce those. With 16 extra strength Mucinex pills, and I have felt like this could have altered my brain. But I remember how it was before, and remember that I felt like it before. It is all real bullshit. If I have any chemistry change, I have this detox program that can fix it. Once again, I can't confirm that these are in fact posts from Bryan, but there are some people that have said that it is linked to an email that he was associated with. So I read the beginning of this one. I'm going to size this up correctly now that I've zoomed in. Bear with me. So he says, okay, so I read the beginning of this. I can see what's going on, talking about his life seeming like a game. Everything I've ever done makes no sense. How did things get this way? How am I wearing this shirt? And who decided that humans shall wear shirts like this? Are we all just advanced animals with possession? Or is there more that I can't see? I can't connect. I view everything as I would if I was playing Oblivion, pointless and full of nothing, out of reality. I am moving out of my house. My last holidays were already lived, but where was I? As my family group hugs and celebrates, I am stuck in this void of nothing. Feeling completely no emotion, feeling nothing. I feel dirty, like there is dirt inside of my head, my mind. I am always dizzy and confused. I feel no self-worth. I am intelligent, but I feel the opposite, which it's like, this kind of sounds like it could be coming from him. It sounds like depression, which is what a lot of people have commented on. It sounds like he was wildly depressed. He says, I am intelligent, but I feel the opposite. I say things I don't mean. The last holiday in my house, the last house I grew up in, the house I once contributed to, the house I once felt at home in is past. As I hug my family, I look into their faces. I see nothing. It is like I am looking at a video game, but less. I feel less than mentally damaged. It is like I have severe brain damage. I am stuck in the depths of my mind where I have to constantly battle my demons. Am I here or am I fake? I feel myself slipping away. I hear screams faintly, but I constantly battle away from it. What if I let go? Where would I be? Would I ever come back to reality? I try to remember where I originated from, but I can't. I barely remember my childhood. I often fear being 80 years old, alone, and having faint memories of my parents. Everything I missed out on. I think about my father, what a good man he is, how I treat him like dirt because I have this condition and I can't take it. I might spiral out of control and lose myself in the void. I can't let it all go. All of these regrets I predict for my future self. All of these thoughts of remorse. I got this when I was in my stage of discovery. Now I look in the mirror and I see this sickly, tired, useless, and stupid man in the mirror. He is a complete disgrace. He doesn't even deserve to live. I remember when I was 15, I would wander alone at 2 a.m. Everything was so generic. Nowhere felt like home. I saw things that were not there. A different reality. I felt eerie and alone. Sorry, we're almost done. I felt eerie and alone. I died during those nights. I felt like a criminal, but where was my record? I can't talk without flinching now. I used to be this healthy blonde-haired boy with blue eyes, and in a few years I have darker hair and darker eyes, half the body weight. Where did I leave off? I try to sleep. I try to clear my head, but the pressure won't go away. The pain and depression won't leave. Being me is this horrible disease that I was given. I think of this as I succumb to sleep, but I see a large intensity of black, yellow, white fuzz. It makes my mind fizzle, and I can barely keep in the bounds of reality. It is as if the ringing in my ears and the fuzz in my vision is simply all of the demons in my head mocking me. I fall asleep, but I wake up too quickly to bloody screams. Is any of this here? Am I brain damaged? No. Then why am I like this? I have these thoughts all in my head. I search for someone to relate to me. Everyone looks down upon me. No one can relate. As I try to read, suddenly my eyes look right through the words when I look up. I see blue dots near the center of my vision. When I feel slightly calm, it gets hard to breathe, and I see bright dots in my vision. Nothing I do is enjoyable. I am blank. I have no opinion. I have no emotion. I have nothing. Can you relate? Wow. So that's obviously really difficult to read through because, regardless of who wrote this, from human being to human being, it's like that's just tremendously sad. And you feel obviously sympathy in reading that. If you were just to read that and come across that post, you would feel sympathy for this person. Jasmine says, I doubt this is him. I have no idea whether to confirm that this is him or not. But if they can confirm that this is him, I mean, this is apparently posted July of 2011. It's like that's, 10 plus years ago now that he clearly was going through some stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if it was him. Someone says his brain was still developing. Lulu says his brain was still developing when he started using. That's another thing. He apparently was a heroin user at one point. Okay, so getting into the maps a little bit, getting into the location, because one of the biggest things, obviously, we know that the murder weapon is a sharp object. We know that the sheath covering the murder weapon was left laying on the bed next to Madison, where Kaylee and Madison, the first victims to be murdered. Could the perpetrator have removed his knife from the sheath before first victim and left it behind without knowing? My big question is, regardless of who the intended first victims were, he left it behind. Okay, sorry guys. I know that everyone's talking about his kind of mental state. I just wanted to go through those real quick. I don't really know what to add to that. That would be helpful. But I think if it is him, it's a pretty wild post to come across. If it isn't him, then whoever wrote that hopefully is feeling better. Or it could just be something written and that was fake and that came out later to make it seem like it's real or attached to this. But going to the knife, because I think the knife is interesting. Regardless, we know that the knife sheath was found. DNA on that knife sheath traces back to Bryan. Where is the weapon? That is the biggest question. Did he ditch the weapon on his drive to Pennsylvania? Did he ditch the weapon on his way back to his house after committing the crimes? We don't know. So we're going to watch this quick video here, and then we are going to go into the maps of his alleged route home. And we're going to see where he may have ditched the weapon, if he did, in fact, on his way home.
We have so many new details. details in the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. It was this affidavit that was released today, and it reveals how police identified the suspect, 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger. Police say they found his DNA on a knife sheath, which investigators believe is connected to the murder weapon. Police also revealing today they identified the suspect by tracking his car on surveillance cameras. Well, today, Kohberger made his first court appearance in Idaho to face 4 charges of first-degree murder in the stabbing deaths of Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. CBS's Omar Villafranca was inside the courtroom and will start us off from Moscow, Idaho. Good evening, Omar.
Good evening. Tonight, many questions were answered. Some people may have thought that the case had gone cold, but it turns out police were tracking the suspect for a very long time. And we're also learning how investigators connected Kohberger to the scene. Kohberger smiled at his court-appointed attorney and appeared calm as gruesome new details were revealed about how he may have stalked the victims and how police tracked him down through DNA, phone records, and a witness. In a court document released today, police say DNA from trash obtained from the Kohberger's home in Pennsylvania matched DNA on a knife sheath, like this one, found next to one of the victims' bodies. Also in the document, a roommate identified as Dylan Mortensen told police she thought she heard Kaylee Gonzalez say, "There's someone here," around 4 a.m. Mortensen told police after hearing someone crying and a man saying something to the effect, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." She opened her door and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Mortensen described the figure as a tall male with bushy eyebrows. We also learned police say cell phone records show Kohberger's phone near the murder scene at least 12 times before the night of the stabbings, beginning in August. Casey Jordan is a criminologist with no connection to this case.
I would not be at all surprised if there is more information that's going to come forth. Remember, in the probable cause affidavit, they just need to put enough evidence to substantiate the arrest. They don't have to show all the evidence that they have that might come out at trial. So there could be other things.
Well, Omar is back with us. So, Omar, do we know if the suspect knew the victims?
Well, Nora, there are still some things we don't know. We don't know a motive. We don't know if the suspect knew the victims, and we don't know where the murder weapon is. As for Kohberger, he'll remain in the Latah County Jail without bail. He's expected back in court next Thursday.
So, of course, we will check out whatever happens after his next court appearance coming up this coming week. This was sent to me by one of the mods. Thank you for sending this to me. This is potentially, so this is a photo. It looks like a crime scene photo, and you can see there's a Jack-in-the-Box order with Xana's name that appears to be opened. So I don't know if this is, if this is from that specific order. But thank you for sending this to me. I had not seen this yet. Pretty crazy that this house, it's like these are photos just coming in from people on the outside of the house, right? Like we have the photos, like from the 3D model, we have these photos that people had, like for instance, this Good Vibes photo. This photo here was taken through the window of the house, and it just goes to show that this house, like when the lights were on in this house, it was like they were like I don't even know, like in a viewing, like almost like, I don't know what the right word would be. Not a terrarium. Like, what would be the, like fish in a fish tank? Like people could just peer in and watch them like moving about the house. I mean, everywhere, every part of this house seemed to have views in from the outside. I know a lot of people were talking about even Kaylee's room. You could see into Kaylee's room fairly well. There were not really curtains. At least they didn't draw their curtains often. And it's crazy to me that they didn't black out a lot of this. I mean, not that this is probably, you know, damning evidence to have out there, but it's like you would think that they would have blocked these windows from the outside when they were doing their investigation. But do we know if this is Xana's order or not? We have no idea. We also have a half-drank Starbucks. And you can see some lipstick right here too. So it looks like at least someone with lipstick was drinking from that at one point. So let's go through. Okay, we have 1,300 people in here, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We are about to get into the map time, but if you haven't already, hit that like button down below. We have 460 of you that have hit that like button, and we have 1,300 of you here. So thank you guys for being here. We're going to dive into the maps now. This is a Reddit page or a Reddit post from yesterday showing the timeline and map of the alleged travels of Bryan Kohberger on the 13th as laid out in the affidavit released. So this will be referring to this here. They show the different locations marked by numbers. The first one being at 2:42 a.m. They say Kohberger's cell phone is located at his residence at 1640 Northeast Valley Road in Pullman, which I've gone through and actually looked at the entire map. So the actual location of the first pinged location, the first pinged cell phone data would be at his or near his apartment. Number 2, which is 7 minutes, 2:47. So 5 minutes later, the cell phone shows it traveling south through Pullman, but then stops, reporting to a network connection. So he is then 5 minutes later shown going south through Pullman. So I just have it obviously right here going into the heart of the town. We don't know the exact location of the ping, which, by the way, guys, if you aren't familiar, he was living at the Steptoe Village Apartments. So that's where I have it for the sake of this. I don't know the exact ping on that first one. Ray with the map time emotes. Yeah, it is map time, guys. The number 3 on the list is all the way at 3:29 to 4:20 a.m. So this is obviously a big block of time, but the Hyundai Elantra makes 3 initial passes by the King Road residence at 1122 King Road, leaving via Walenta Drive. It returns a 4th time at 4:04 a.m., first driving eastbound on King Road. It leaves the area at 4:20 a.m., traveling at a high rate of speed. So once again, he is seen at the King Road residence. Walenta Drive. I don't have. Oh, it messed up. I had it on Walenta earlier, so the map on here is a little bit off. But that is where he was at, obviously, between 3:29 and 4:20 a.m. At 4:48 a.m., the cell phone comes back online and pings at Blaine. So that's another thing we have to remember from the affidavit. His cell phone was turned off during the time that the murders happened. His phone was turned off for a period of time. But when the phone was turned back on, it was pinged near Genesee, then Uniontown, and finally at Pullman between 5:25 a.m. and 5:27 a.m. So Uniontown, the number 5 listed on the map, would be right down here. So there's Uniontown. Let's see. And then, yeah, the white sedan is recorded by 5 cameras. Sorry, I did not have that in the right spot. So yeah, then at 5:27, the white sedan is reported and recorded by 5 cameras in the Pullman and on the WSU campus. So after he went south to the Uniontown area, he made his way back up to Pullman, and near the university, he was seen on several cameras. So they think that he made this kind of elaborate drive to the south and then back up to Pullman. Once again, I don't know how accurate these pings are, but I would imagine they are getting all of his cell phone data history and utilizing different applications that may have been running with geo data in the background to get even more accurate pings to better show his exact locations after the murders. But that will likely come later. Obviously, that will come with the trial. We'll see more about his alleged location. But this is kind of what they think. And they did show an image in the actual affidavit. When you scroll down, it's very hard to see, but you can kind of see the map that they show, and it's pretty close to what we have here on this map. So then the number 6 would be between 9 and 9:21 a.m. So the morning of Sunday morning on the 13th. So the morning after the killings, the cell phone shows that it leaves Kohberger's Pullman residence and travels to Moscow between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. So he goes back from his apartment, okay, over to Moscow. I don't know exactly where he pinged, but this is the next morning. And then it connects with with cellular resources that provide coverage to the area where the King Road residence is located. So we don't know how close he got back to the residence, but that was the next morning. At 9:32 a.m., so 11 minutes later, the cell phone returns to the area of Kohberger's Pullman residence. So he goes from his house over to Moscow and goes immediately back to his house. So was he actually checking in that area? Did he drive by the crime scene the next morning? This would have been prior to the 911 call happening. Was he seeing, hey, are there a lot of police presence here? Who's at the house yet? Was he checking on the crime scene? I think he probably was. Okay, continuing on at 12:36 p.m. So right after lunchtime, so basically 3 hours later, from 9:32 to 12:36, the cell phone shows it's near Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand in Clarkson. Surveillance footage from the nearby chef's store shows a white Elantra drive past the coffee stand. So obviously, after he went to Moscow, he went back to his apartment at 9:36 or 9:34, and then basically 3 hours later, we find that he is down almost an hour south in the town of Clarkson near Kate's Cup of Joe coffee shop. And it looks like Clarkson is right on the border of Washington and Idaho as well. So he's seen there on security camera footage at 12:36. At 12:46, 10 minutes later, between 12:46 and 1:04 p.m., the cell phone pings near Albertsons grocery store in Clarkson. Video footage from Albertsons shows Kohberger exiting the Elantra at 12:49 p.m. and interior cameras capture him walking through the store, purchasing items at the checkout, then leaving the store at about 1:04 p.m. So if we go to the map again, whoops. After the Kate's Cup of Joe, after he was seen in this area, he was seen just around this area near the Albertsons. Well, he went into the Albertsons according to the security camera footage. Let me see here. Let's see. And then at 5:36 p.m., so that last one was at 1:04. He left the Albertsons. At 5:36 to 8:30 p.m., the phone stops reporting to a network during this time. That is the final mention in the affidavit of Kohberger's alleged movements. So we don't know what time he made his way back to his house. Obviously, he had to go back to his house in Pullman, but between 5:36 p.m., the day after the murders, between 5:36 p.m. and 8:30 p.m., essentially another 3-hour window, his phone stops reporting to the network. This is the big part to me. It's like, for those 3 hours, obviously it would have been about an hour, a little over an hour to get from Albertsons back up to Pullman. But what was he doing for 3 hours? He clearly turned his phone off during the crimes. We know that, probably in an attempt to not show his exact location. So if he turned his phone off in Clarkson, Clarkston, I'm saying that wrong, Clarkston, is that the time frame in which he was getting rid of the knife? I think that's the only thing that makes sense. Well, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but it's like, if he turned his phone off during the murders, the day after the murders, if he turned his phone off again, isn't that a reason? Isn't his reason for turning the phone off to try to not be fully tracked? I think that he probably, there's a chance maybe he ditched his river or his knife, the weapon, in the Snake River or the Clearwater River near Clarkston. Or did he take a long road home? He could have taken this long drive home on Wawa, whatever this is, Wawa Road. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it goes along the Snake River and then it connects up to Pullman. Not to say that law enforcement needs to do this because it would take quite a while, but like, imagine looking, I mean, you could never, it'd be like a needle in a haystack, but like, this is that road all the way home. I mean, all he's got to do is pull over right here, act like he's taking a photo of the, you know, of the scenic nature all around him, and you could just toss your murder weapon right there. So that's all just like, who knows if it's a possibility, but it's like, why turn the phone off? Why is the phone not reporting to the network again at 5:30 the next day to 8:30? That's a pretty big amount of time. It's also like, why are you turning your phone off for 3 hours? I don't know many people that do that. I know certain people that turn their phone off every now and again to give it a break, but like, many people don't even turn their phones off ever. So I think it's incredibly foolish in the first place that he even took his phone to the crime. He turned it off, but he took it there. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure if that was what was happening during that time, but there's a possibility for sure. JW says, I feel like he kept the knife. Yeah, I mean, there's always a possibility that they found the knife in the apartment as well. It's not like they would need to put that in the probable cause affidavit to get the arrest. But I guess they wouldn't have gotten access to his house until after that. But who's to say that they didn't find the knife at his residence in Pullman? We don't know that. I mean, that would be a slam dunk against Bryan in the trial, but we just simply don't know that yet. So yeah, this person says phone turned off between 5:30 and 8:30 p.m. Do you guys think BK turned off his phone between 5:30 and 8:30 to dispose of the knife? Seems like he turned his phone off during the murders because he knew he was doing something that would incriminate him. So I'm guessing he turned it off to this time too, to make sure law enforcement couldn't trace where he disposed the knife. So my guess is that he did ditch the knife at that time, but I mean, there's nothing to prove that at all. Let's go ahead and and listen to, this is an older video, but it's one of the one of the people that lived in the apartment that he lived at in Pullman. I'm going to read a couple of your comments. Kat, he might have buried it and would retrieve it, and will retrieve it later, possibly. And Monty, yeah, I know that they still said that they're technically still looking for it. We'll see. What would have been smart was leave his phone at home playing a movie or something. Yeah, it certainly would have been smarter than taking it with him. Ninja, well, he definitely knew he was doing something wrong. Yeah, it seems that way. Okay, I'm going to keep reading some of your guys' comments. I'm going to play this video, and then we will continue with the stream.
A classmate in the same criminology program as Kohberger tells News Nation exclusively that Kohberger's behavior was clearly different in recent weeks.
Bryan seemed like he was on the knife's edge between exhaustion and burnout, and at the time it was extremely difficult to tell which was which.
On the knife's edge, that's how Ben Roberts described Bryan Kohberger's demeanor before he left for winter break. Like most others, Roberts learned on Friday that his graduate classmate in criminology may be the criminal behind 4 stabbing deaths.
It was very odd realizing that I just spent the last couple months sitting opposite in class to somebody who has such heavy allegations against them.
The Washington State campus in Pullman is just a short drive away from the University of Idaho campus in Moscow, where Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were murdered on November 13th.
I did notice that he became a little chattier. He became a little more animated. Mostly what I noticed, though, is he was always showing up a little late, and he was always showing up with a cup of coffee in hand. He seemed like he was more exhausted going into the tail end of the term.
Right after Kohberger's arrest, News Nation on hand as authorities seized a computer and a lot of new evidence from his apartment at the WSU graduate housing complex. Neighbors say he was indeed very chatty.
It was pretty interesting because I never met someone who studied criminology and PhD and then with something with like psychology background. And he told me he's fascinating on what he's doing and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, cool.
Since then, word that Kohberger may be a stone-cold killer. According to Roberts, the Moscow murders were not discussed in class, but often Kohberger commanded their conversations about criminology.
He very much liked it when everybody in the room knew that he knew what was going on, but it wasn't enough that you knew that he knew. He had to make absolutely sure you understood that he was smart, that he had this intellectual capacity.
Now, Kohberger should be back in the area in a matter of days after extradition, but that will be to face 4 counts of
So we obviously know that Kohberger is back in Idaho. This video had come out shortly after his arrest in Pennsylvania. We obviously know now that he is back. He's waived extradition, and seems like going to be a relatively speedy lead up to the trial, or at least the kind of first few appearances in court. What do you guys think? Do you think that this trial will be quick? What do you think his defense will I mean, now that they've seen the probable cause affidavit, like they've had a chance to speak with Bryan. I mean, he seemed very excited to get back and exonerate himself of these crimes and to prove his innocence, or whatever his words were. What do you think? Do you think it'll be a fast trial, or do you think it's going to be years before this thing goes to trial? Let me know what you guys think. Let's see. I think we'll have a trial in the summer. Interesting. Karen Broderick, he's screwed. Yeah, and Karen, I think you had mentioned earlier, Karen, you said something about the evidence, I think. And I completely agree with you, Karen. I think that they likely have a mountain of evidence beyond what they have now. I think besides the latent footprint, there has to be something else on or near one of the victims besides just his DNA on the sheath, right? Did he I mean, maybe he had gloves on during the crime. Obviously, it sounds like he had gloves on in and around his parents' house in Pennsylvania after the murders took place. But even if he had gloves on during the crime, if he cut himself, or if a piece of his hair or something coming off of his clothing, I think that they're going to end up having, you know, it's gonna be very difficult for them. I think they're gonna end up having a mountain of DNA. Maddie says fast trial is a must. Steve says the blood in his Hyundai is going to be hard to defend. Yeah, is that confirmed? Did they confirm to have found blood in his Hyundai? Because that's another thing. It's like he would have had to have cleaned. You have to be super professional in terms of cleaning crime scenes to be able to get rid of that kind of evidence in a vehicle. Will more info be given on January 12th? I mean, I'm sure some more will come out for sure. I think the 911 call is going to end up coming out somehow before trial. That's just my opinion. So another thing some people were talking about was the potential that this Spotify account linked to Bryan, if there's any legitimacy behind that. Obviously, if you have a Spotify account, it's attached to your name, and you can follow, playlists, for example. It looks like there was a studying playlist that this account followed. He has multiple followers. Obviously, people are probably following this account now knowing like, hey, is this actually Bryan? But this particular Spotify account happens to be following these 4 people, Jack Harlow, Nirvana, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Maddie Mogan. So I don't know if this is completely confirmed or not, but if this is Bryan's Spotify account, that is incredibly strange and pretty incriminating, considering those are 2 of the 4 victims. But once again, I don't know where I can actually see like where and when this Spotify account was created, to verify whether or not this was, you know, if this is actually him or not. This account could have been created yesterday in an effort to just throw a wrench in this investigation and just get people talking about it. So take it with a grain of salt. Janine says, I feel bad for his parents and his sisters. Yeah, that's another thing. Some people sent me some stuff about his sister being in like a slasher. This is the director of that horror film. Bryan's sister was apparently in a horror film a while back. A legitimate film. It had an 18-day shoot day, like not just a student film. I haven't gone in and looked at the film at all. But people were asking me, what do you think about that? His sister was in a horror film, a slasher film. And to that, I just say, what a terrible coincidence that you participated in a film that is, you know, a slasher film. I think it was just pure happenstance. I don't think there's anything weird tied to that. But people wanted me to weigh in on that. I don't really think there's much there. Teresa says it's on Amazon. Okay. It's on Amazon. I might have to go check that out. Another thing, I want to show this video again. It is the video at the vigil. And a lot of people think, excuse me, a lot of people think that this could be Bryan walking through the vigil. Now, I don't know 100%, but when you do go back and look at the video, look at these 2 people right here. We have this woman here in the what looks like an orange or burnt orange North Face jacket with the white hoodie or the white cap, and then this bald guy here. A lot of stuff's been circulating saying that these are 2 undercover cops or FBI agents, some sort of law enforcement. Watch her look at this guy here. And then she immediately goes and talks to this guy here. Oh, I guess it's not the bald guy. It's this guy right here. Look, she does kind of whisper something and kind of watch it again. She kind of whispers something to this guy. She sees him go by. And then she kind of whispers something to this guy and kind of keeps looking the opposite direction. And then he kind of follows that way. I'm not entirely sure. It could just be a coincidence and we're reading into it. But yeah, anyways, some people think that that's Bryan walking there. I don't know. Let me zoom in on him real quick and I'll let you guys see a little bit better shot. Okay, so right there. I don't know. It's hard to say. He kind of looks like he has too thin of a face. But it's too hard to say just based off of that one small clip. Do I think that Bryan could have been at the vigil? For sure. It sounds like, or it looks like he was snooping around the crime scene the next day. At least his phone was pinging near the crime scene the next day. So who knows? Who knows? I think it's a lot of people are saying it's not him. Janine says looks sus. And speaking of sus, we have a sus bus. Guys, we have a sus bus now. So if something is incredibly sus, I can enter the sus bus. We have Angela saying, I think that's him. Lynn says, hard to say. I think regardless, it's a little sus. Ray says, I don't think that's him. Janine says, too tall. Guys, we now have a sus bus that I can enter. If something is sus, let me know. I will enter the sus bus. Hopefully you can still hear me in the sus bus. Anyways, also we have other animations. We have a sus animation. If something is incredibly sus, we have a sus animation now. Guys, I've done a full redesign of the channel, and I'm very much liking it. So speaking of those animations, if you want to follow me on any of these social media accounts, that is my social media. Feel free to send me anything throughout the stream, which, speaking of, I keep trying to send you an email, but it's telling me it's wrong. Oh, okay. Thank you. Angela sent me, this is a good time to follow me on Twitter. If you guys ever want to send me anything throughout the stream, that is the way to do it. You can DM me on Twitter. That is my Twitter page right there. But Angela, one of the many mods on this channel, sent me this, saying that this is apparently from Bryan's mother. Perhaps one of the saddest commentaries on mankind was evident during the execution of Theodore Bundy. While no sane, compassionate individual would excuse the atrocities committed by this man, neither would any sane individual applaud the passing of his funeral hearse. What have we become? Wait, what? Is this really from his mom? It's really huge. Neither would any individual applaud the passing of his... What have we become? Is the taking of a human life acceptable when the state takes responsibility for it? Mary Ann Kohberger. So I'm not sure if that actually is from Bryan's mom, but thank you for sending that to me, Angela. And where were we? So we're gonna go into some of the people who supposedly knew Bryan. Okay, we're gonna go and look at some of these videos. Neighbors, past friends, people that had very little to do with him but just knew him. Let's listen to a few of these videos.
Kohberger left Washington a grad student and is coming back to the inland Northwest, a suspected murderer. This news came as a shock to people who knew him, and some are now speaking out on changes in his behavior and his personality that pushed them away. Tonight at 6, Esther Bauer has new details from a father who says both his kids grew up with Kohberger. Esther.
Well, guys, we now know the suspect's family lived in Pennsylvania. The dad I spoke with says when news broke of an arrest, his family was in shock. They still are, and just want justice for the victims.
Quite a few times, Kohberger was actually in my house, and it's, that's a pretty frightening thing to know.
Because Tom Arntz says his kids went to school with Kohberger in Pennsylvania.
He said some things are a little odd with him. He was always like he had to be like the #1 person in the room.
Over the years, his kids noticed changes. Tom says he used to be around 300 pounds, then lost a lot of weight, and that wasn't the only difference.
My son said he changed a little bit, and he got pretty aggressive with him and mean to him and stuff, and my son broke off relations with him. He just never seen him anymore.
The last time the Arntz family saw him was when Kohberger was working as a security guard at a local school a couple years back.
When we talked to him there, everything seemed, normal. He was polite and everything. It was very, very weird to hear this stuff.
Washington State University confirms he was a PhD student at the time of the alleged murder, and Tom adds he was smart.
Very intelligent, and then, he would explain things in like a really odd way that had to be really sophisticated way of explaining stuff.
There is still so much more to explain and understand in this investigation. It's unsettling for Tom to think about how this person, who they knew for years, could have killed these 4 students.
Just insane.
Yeah. So once again, someone kind of talking about how Bryan felt like he was kind of the smartest in the room, had to have everybody know that he was the smartest in the room, those kinds of things. That seems kind of like a common thread amongst people. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. When these people are finding out that that this person that they knew or once kind of knew potentially did this, they're gonna come out of the woodwork and chat about it.
Bryan Kohberger is set to appear before a judge this week following his arrest in the Poconos. He's accused in the murders of 4 University of Idaho students back in November. Well, tonight, the Kohberger family has released a statement following the news of his arrest. ABC's Kana Whitworth has that, plus what a childhood friend had to say about the suspect.
Tonight, Bryan Kohberger's childhood friend Thomas speaking to ABC News, describing the Idaho murder suspect as mean in high school, saying Bryan was eager to be seen as dominant.
He would just put me in, he would grapple me and put me in headlocks and arm bars and stuff like that.
Kohberger's family releasing a statement which reads in part, "First and foremost, we care deeply for the 4 families who have lost their precious children. There are no words that can adequately express the sadness we feel. We have fully cooperated with law enforcement agencies in an attempt to seek the truth and promote his presumption of innocence." The small community in Moscow terrified for weeks after roommates Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin were found stabbed to death in their off-campus home in mid-November. Kohberger's lawyer saying Bryan's father flew from his home in the Poconos to Washington State for a pre-planned cross-country road trip back home to Pennsylvania for Christmas in that white Hyundai Elantra.
Driving cross-country took them approximately 2.5 days. Mr. Kohberger indicated that Bryan was acting normal and not out of character on the drive back from Washington.
The car...
Hold on, I got to hear that again.
Kohberger indicated that 2.5 days. Mr. Kohberger indicated that Bryan was acting normal and not out of character on the drive back.
Okay, so this is the first time I'd heard this video. I was wondering if Bryan was acting normal, if he, I still want to know, did they talk about the murders at all? Because that's the biggest thing. Your son is at WSU, 10 minutes away from where one of the most prolific quadruple, a huge, huge story in the U.S., really. It's reached beyond just the U.S. Studying criminal behavior, criminology, and then you go on this road trip across the country with him. Surely they talked about the murders. Did Bryan not want to talk about it? Did he talk about it? If he was acting normal, that's one thing, but did he not want to talk about the murders? Surely it was brought up.
From Washington.
The car seized from the Kohberger's home after Bryan was arrested early Friday morning. The Monroe County Chief Public Defender saying Kohberger is eager to return to Idaho and be exonerated. Police in Moscow say they're confident they arrested the only person responsible for the murders. Still, they're searching for a murder weapon they describe as a fixed blade knife. The police chief saying the community has a name and a face, and now they're hoping more people will come forward with information.
We have a lot of work to do still. We still have a lot of pieces we have to put together. That's why we're still asking people, if you have known this individual, contact us.
And Chief Fry telling me that within an hour of releasing Kohberger's name, more than 400 tips poured in. Kohberger's lawyer also confirming to us that he remained there in Pullman, working towards his PhD until mid-December. He's now set to face a judge in Pennsylvania Tuesday and is hoping to be quickly extradited to Idaho after that. Kana Whitworth.
Angela's saying he's going to be put into plenty of headlocks now. Yeah, I would imagine he's not going to, I don't know what his situation's like in jail right now. I would imagine he's probably not with the general population at all. If I had to guess, they are keeping him very, very safe in the lead up to the eventual trial. Guys, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, thank you for joining in on the stream today. We are still going through a couple more videos here of the people that are, that were a part of Bryan's life, that knew him. This is going to be a childhood friend that we're going to go into in the next one. And then we are going to go through the stream, or towards the end of the stream, we're going to go through the actual 3D model of the house just to give a better understanding. This is the best 3D model that I've been able to see so far. But we're going to go through the last couple videos of the people that Bryan knew, or the people that knew Bryan. And then I'll read some of your guys' comments. Maybe we'll open up the phone lines as well. And then, like I said, we'll go through that 3D map as well. All right, let's see.
Tonight, Bryan Kohberger's childhood friend Thomas speaking to ABC News, describing the Idaho murder suspect as mean in high school, saying Bryan was eager to be seen as dominant.
He would just put me in. He would like grapple me and like put me in headlocks. And
We heard this guy already, actually. All right, we heard this guy. This is the same video, different network. We'll do this one now.
Murders was arrested in our area. Newswatch 16 spoke to someone today who says they knew him personally. That's our top story tonight on Newswatch 16 at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Chelsea Strube. We begin tonight in Monroe County with the arrest of Bryan Kohberger, a suspect in the murders of the 4 Idaho college students. Newswatch 16's Emily Kress spoke to one woman who says she knows Kohberger personally.
The arrest of 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger rocked the nation, charged in connection with the murders of 4 Idaho college students. For people like Casey Arntz, the news of the arrest hits close to home. Her mom calling to break the news.
And she said the person they arrested was Bryan Kohberger, and immediately I freaked out. Naturally, I went back inside work and I called about 8 of my friends because it was terrifying. It was a shock because there's literally 7 billion people in this world, and I know him. I was friends with him. Like, that's terrifying.
Arntz lives in Virginia Beach, but grew up in the Poconos and attended Pleasant Valley High School. She tells us she became friends with Bryan Kohberger through her younger brother during their time in school.
We just hung out and talked, and that's what it was. It wasn't anything crazy, just a typical friendship.
Arntz says she hopes his arrest will shed more light on the case for the sake of the 4 victims and their families.
I didn't want to think about what even happened out there. I just want the families to have clarity. I want them to have some type of just answers to questions that they don't have. And I know that we won't get those answers, or they won't get those answers until they actually hear from him. And the police release that information. And it's just, I want them to have clarity, and I want them to be able to have peace after all this is said and done.
Kohberger remains locked up here at the Monroe County Correctional Facility.
So yeah, I mean, that girl obviously didn't have anything too crazy to say about Bryan. Nothing. Just I think people are shocked, obviously, but nothing like, oh my gosh, he, like the other guy was saying he was like a bully, he was mean. This girl just purely shocked that this was the case. Jackie, I think it was Jackie that just asked about the ties to BTK. Did Bryan speak to Dennis Rader, who obviously you guys know was the serial killer in Wichita, Kansas? Bind, torture, kill. Dennis Rader, arrested in 2005. There are a lot of people that drew similarities between, or at least thought that maybe Bryan was trying to draw similarities or kind of mirror or draw inspiration from the BTK killer. I think the BTK killer, his first time killing, it was 4 victims. Bryan's first was 4 victims. People thought maybe he avoided killing DM because he was trying to, like I said, mirror BTK. That all is apparently rumors. Dennis Rader, BTK, says he didn't speak to Bryan Kohberger. So there was rumors that he had spoken to him. That apparently has not been confirmed, or has confirmed to have not happened. So yeah, this is the last video about the former friends. This one is kind of interesting because it gets into the life, the kind of the drug life that Bryan had. Angela, thank you for being here. Guys, heading out to DoorDash. Let's make some money. I'll be listening in still. Angela, thank you for being here. Once again, thank you to the mods of the channel. Thank you, Angela. Have a good time DoorDashing. Stay safe out there, Angela. All right, let's listen in on the next video here. Oh my gosh, all these animations happening now. Boom, boom, boom. All right.
Justice Major, we know he was pursuing his PhD. We know that he had postings talking about he wanted to know why criminals do what they do, but who really was this suspect? So we wanted to bring in someone that knew the person in a prior life. I want to bring in someone who knew him, the suspect personally, Rich Pasqua. You worked with him for a period of time. Rich, what can you tell me about the suspect? What was he like?
He was just your average guy. I met him through some friends, and they told me that he was a little weird. And, He was a little socially awkward, I guess you could say. But he wasn't a bad guy. He needed a job, so I worked at a pizza shop at that time, and they were hiring. I said, yeah, come on in and apply, and he did, and he got the job. So I worked with him for a little bit. But he was quiet, though.
What
He
was
didn't ever come off
conversation like with
violent or
him?
What was that?
What was conversation like with him? Like when you talk with him at work, would he look you in your eyes? Did he have friends? Did he have a girlfriend at the time?
It was so long ago. It was like 2013, but he didn't have a girlfriend. I do remember that. And my wife went to school with him. They graduated together, and she doesn't remember him ever having a girlfriend, and I don't remember him ever having a girlfriend. And he didn't have many friends, so he like would do anything to fit in, and would do like, you know, he just wanted to be liked by everybody. But he wasn't a bad kid. Like, you know, he was all right. And I knew his sister. I went to school with his sister, and I knew his father worked for the school, and I believe his mother did too. But his family, they were all nice people, and you know, his dad was always really nice to me, very polite. But I never thought that he would do something like that.
Good copy. So we've heard from some people that surrounded him that there may have been drug use in his life prior as well. Did you know him to use drugs or anything like that, sir?
Yeah, he did use drugs. That's how I really know him too. He was a big heroin addict, and so was I. I got 6 years clean now. I work in treatment and everything, but back then I was using, and so that's how I know for a fact he was using. I've got high with him a couple times and used with him, and I remember one night we went out and his car broke down, and his dad had to come out, and he got pretty angry. Well, because his car broke down and everything, and we couldn't get what we needed that night. And you know, I knew other people that dealt drugs, and we would deliver drugs to him a lot. And so that's when I heard about this case. I haven't heard from him in so long, and then I heard about this, and it said that he was going to college. I said, I haven't heard from him. I guess that's what he's been doing. He must have cleaned up. I know he was in and out of rehab a couple times, but he really did. He cleaned up and was going to college all these years.
Rich, I'm short on time, but I got to ask you one last question. We've heard from people that he had a track record of being inappropriate, borderline offensive to women. Did you ever see that in any of your interactions with him and interactions with women?
Not in my time knowing him. I've never seen him ever act like that towards women. I've never seen him come off that way ever towards anybody.
So kudos to this guy. Sounds like this guy's gotten his life turned around as well. Only he hasn't gone on to murder 4 people. So kudos to him for being honest and actually talking about how he knew Bryan. I mean, he was very open about having a past with drugs. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. You have a mix of people talking about Bryan being obviously kind of a know-it-all, talking about how he had to be the guy in the room, like he had to let everyone know that he was the smartest guy in the room. He made it known. You have some people saying that he was rude, that he would put people in headlocks. I mean, but overall, there's not like an overwhelming amount of things coming out. Like some of the females that even have talked to him. There was even a female that I think it was a Reddit post that we went through in the last video talking about getting drugs with him. He like got her to give him a ride. Like, there's not a ton that stands out of this guy that's just being like, that's overly crazy. It's not like everyone is like, wow, we absolutely saw this coming. So it's a mix, right? You got a mix of people that are just confused, I think, overall by this for sure. Okay, last one here. Thank you guys to the 1,938 that are in here. We just hit 700 likes. Guys, if you haven't already, hit that like button. Let's try to get the stream to 1,000 likes. That would be great. It helps get the stream out to the YouTube. I always, when I'm done with the stream, always what happens is I get comments after it posts as a video, and people are always like, I didn't get a notification. I didn't get a notification. And it helps push the stream out there to the people that maybe didn't get the notification initially. So Thank you guys for hitting that subscribe button. Thank you to the 1,900 people that are in here right now.
Bryan Kohberger.
His personality does not match whatever the incident happened.
Neighbors around his Pullman apartment still trying to understand the motive.
He would talk about he wants to know why people commit crime, why, what is the key reason behind crimes, and how people think while committing them.
And now a public defender in Monroe County, Pennsylvania says Kohberger plans to waive his extradition hearing, meaning Kohberger could be in the state of Idaho in a matter of days, facing 4 counts of murder. Police in Moscow say his DNA places him at the scene of the crime. They also revealed that he's only been the focus of this weeks-long investigation for just the last few days. Moscow police adding they believe Kohberger worked alone. And we've also learned since the November 13th murders, Kohberger remained in the area. Students telling us they saw him continue taking his graduate level courses and work as a teacher's assistant in an undergraduate criminal justice course. WSU's criminology department releasing a statement that says, in part, the department is aggrieved by the alleged horrendous acts of one of its graduate students. We are relieved that justice will be carried out. Our hearts are with the victims' families. And Idaho prosecutor Bill Thompson says the affidavit for his charges will remain sealed until he arrives in the state of Idaho.
It's one of those things. It's like people obviously are going to come out and say, you know, oh, like this totally doesn't fit him. And it's like, imagine someone coming out after someone is arrested for the killing, a brutal killing of 4 people. If they were to say, oh yeah, that totally fits. Yeah, he was my neighbor. That checks out. Yeah, I mean, he definitely showed signs of wanting to do that. I would immediately put that person in the sus bus, you guys. No one's going to say that, you know, oh yeah, totally fits his. I get where people are like, oh yeah, he was a creepy guy. Like I could see where, you know, that may have led to that, but like obviously he wasn't showing signs of wanting to do that. LT says it's called repressed anger. Yeah, he clearly, you know, a lot of people are thinking, anyways, I don't want to say he clearly, but he likely got fixated on this. He may have been the stalker. I think he's potentially one of the stalkers that they were referring to in the early weeks of the investigation when we were talking about a potential stalker. I think he very well could be that stalker. I don't know who he was technically stalking. I think obviously more will come out in the weeks and months and obviously in the trial. Why am I putting myself in the sus bus? You know what? That's a good question. Maybe I should change this up and put whoever we're talking about in the sus bus. You're so right. I might have to rethink the sus bus. Maybe it's all aboard the sus bus who we think, you know, I'm thinking that this is sus. That's why I'm riding the sus bus. Anyways, sorry. The Atom Master made me think about the sus bus entirely. But yeah. Anyways, we're going to know a lot more about the potential relationships, the potential stalking. Is he the stalker that they were talking about? You know, he was there 12 times leading up to November. Was he really there, like right by their house? Hopefully they're able to get more, like I said, key information, more refined map details of his exact whereabouts leading up. And yeah, let's go through this. We finally are going to go through this 3D map, okay? This is the Kula by the profile Hux. So that is the credit of whoever made this. It's very interesting. You've got all these different like buttons that you can press. And from the outside of the house, you can have the drone view. I mean, you can click all of these things. It's an interactive map. So from the road, we can see that this is the entrance to the house right here. Okay. And then when you get in, to the right is listed as bedroom 1B. This bedroom was vacant at the time of the murders. That would be, if we actually go back outside, just for reference, that would be this room right here to the immediate right. Okay. So that would be that room there. And then there's a shower / bathroom area right here. And then if you head this way, there looks like to be a utility closet. And then this room is labeled as bedroom 1A. I'm not quite sure who would have been staying in the bedroom. This would have been the stairs right here. So if we go back to the front door, the stairs would be immediately to the left, which if you guys remember the 911 noise complaint video, you can see the two gentlemen standing in the door. There is the staircase directly to their, like, behind them. So then from the front door up to what would be the middle level of the house, where you can access from the back since it's built on a hill, you have the living room, the main living room on that level. And then if we go through this hallway, there's obviously a bathroom here. This would be Xana's room. So this would be, when you're looking at the house, it would be on the right side on the second level or the middle level. Let's click this video here. So this would be the wall that the potential blood was dripping down. So once again, this is going to be kind of hard to see. I'm going to zoom in. But the room that we're in is Xana's room. So you can see right here, that is kind of like almost like a carved out view if the walls weren't there. And the blood that was dripping down the wall was right there where the circle is at. So it's hard to see it, but the blood that is from this photo right here would be right there behind where her bed was at. And so I'm not entirely sure. I don't know how that would have leaked through to the exterior of the house, but that looks to be blood. Oh my goodness. That's horrific. So there's another shot. There's that blood right there. So that would be that wall right there. Barb, they posted their whereabouts constantly. Yeah, Barb, if you're talking about the victims, yeah, I mean, that's another thing. So many people, and thank you for that too, Barb. So many college-aged students now post so much of their lives on social media. Hopefully these kinds of things make them kind of a little more cautious about just how much they're sharing online. I know I personally have never shared a lot, but it makes me question like how much I share online as well. Like what is worth sharing, you know, and being careful about like who's following you. If you are sharing a lot about your life, is it a private account to where only your friends and family or people that you're approving to see it? I think everyone is kind of posting too much nowadays, but that's just me. It's made me think about it as well, but it makes you wonder if he was following them on any social media. Like we showed earlier, this person has went ahead and added different artwork to kind of show the actual spots around the house. You can see it says a black and white photo, but this is the photo that was taken literally right here in the house in front of this artwork. And then once again, this good vibes kind of wall decoration, neon sign you can see through this window is right there. And then as we enter into the hallway here, we have another set of stairs, a closet, and then to the right, the immediate right, is the kitchen. So this is allegedly where he entered. It's saying confirmed intruder's entry/exit. I think it has been confirmed. Obviously, we don't know every little detail, but there's the photo of the listing on the Zillow page or the listing online. And then there's another photo, an actual photo of the kitchen. But this 3D rendering is pretty incredible and pretty much to scale as well. And then actually from that kitchen, if we go back into the kitchen, that right there would have been the door where DM was at. Okay. DM bedroom listed as bedroom 2A. And then the latent shoe print that led out of the kitchen, This is the shoe print that they said that they were able to match, potentially a Vans style shoe print was in this hallway. So if DM was in this bedroom here, looking out the door, the guy would have, Bryan would have walked right past her, straight to the back, and then exited. So he either had to have seen her, or she was standing in this doorway with the lights out and absolutely just went unnoticed. But down this hallway, like I said, would be Ethan and Xana's room. And so a lot of people think that he came in through, obviously, this second floor on the back, and he immediately went upstairs where Madison and Kaylee were at, and then ended up running into Ethan and Xana later on. So bedroom 3B, Murphy the dog was in this room. This is confirmed as Kaylee Gonzalez's bedroom. This is the photo online on the listing. This is directly above the kitchen and directly above the kitchen sliding glass door where he would have exited. So you would have come up the stairs and immediately turned to the right to enter Madison's room. So from affidavit page 2, they noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side. When viewed from the door, the sheath was later processed and had a K-Bar, USMC, and the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA, suspect profile, left on the button snap of the knife sheath. So this is where where Kaylee and Madison were found on the bed. As I entered this bedroom, this is from the affidavit. It says, as I entered this bedroom, I could see two females on one single bed in the room. Both Gonzalez and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath. So that's what we just read there with the USMC logo. So I think, it's so hard to say the exact route, but if we've got this footprint, obviously this footprint could have just come straight down out of here. Do we know exactly where DM was at when he walked past her? Was he I don't think he was coming down the stairs. I think he had just finished in Ethan and Xana's room. So did he walk through? This is the biggest question, right? Did he walk through this door and go to his left through the living room and into Ethan and Xana's room first? Or did he go through the kitchen, up the stairs, and go to Madison and Kaylee's room first? I personally think he probably went upstairs. It's hard to say. What do you guys think? Let me know. This is an incredible 3D view. I believe I have the affidavit linked in the description. I'm also going to link the 3D view. So if you want to refresh the stream, I will link the 3D map if you would want to go through it yourself. Let me go ahead and read some of your guys' comments here. What are you guys saying? Maybe I'm going to open, I'm going to open up the phone lines as well. Why not? We're going to open up the phone lines. If you want to call in, the number is right here, 305-985-2690. There's 2,012 of you in the chat. Of the 2,012 people here, if you haven't called in, I try to keep the calls to about 3 minutes. Let me know what you think of the case. If you have any questions, for me of what I think, but I like to hear from you guys. So if you want to call in 305-985-2690. If you don't get in on the first time, you just got to keep trying to call and catch me in between calls. I'll take a few calls here, and we can wrap it up here. Does anyone know how tall DM is? I'm not sure, Banana, but that's a good question. Tim says a sheath was left on the bed. Police tracked it to a K-bar style knife. Yeah, that is known information. Claire, thank you for that. That's a nice comment. The affidavit makes it seem that he walks from Xana's room towards DM and out the slider. Yeah, so if he walked from Xana's room, you would think that DM would have been more so like out here checking in. Oh, sorry. It's like you would think that DM would have been out here and he would have walked past her, and then the latent footprint would be over here. Unless she was, like I said, in her doorway. But it doesn't, I mean, maybe he was over this way, and that would be considered in Xana's room or near Xana's room. So, all right.
Call from Laura.
Hey, Laura, thanks for calling.
Oh, hi, Aaron. First time caller, but many time viewer.
Thank you.
I really love this map. It's really comprehensive.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I tagged you in the chat, but one thing I wanted to mention, like, I really don't like talking about the surviving roommate, but two things that stand out to me that are in the affidavit. It states suspect saw witness. Nowhere does it say witness. Or sorry, it says witness saw suspect. Nowhere does it say suspect saw witness. They explicitly state.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
And this,
yeah.
Yeah. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention is we were talking about, like, how is it possible he didn't see her? So it says also, I like to go based off of the things that we know instead of these, like, crazy speculation, like, you know. So it says in the affidavit, she went to bed. Presumably, it says she went to sleep, and presumably her lights would be off, as most of us do when we go to bed. If you look at the photos from the crime scene of that night, they maintained the crime scene. All of the lights were on in that living room, including that good vibes light. So they maintained it all. So you can go and actually see which lights were on, which lights were off. And so I think that totally explains, I mean, that was a well-lit room. If she cracked the door and was, like, quiet as a mouse and just peeked, you know, it's totally possible he never saw her. It's entirely possible.
Oh, so you're saying, so if, because is there photos of the hallway leading into her room, or are you just saying with this good vibes?
Well, like, see, okay, so you see the picture you have on the screen now?
Yeah.
That's how the lights were when the crime was committed.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying, like, that room was lit up.
Yeah, so that's the only thing. It's like,
turn those lights on.
Right. So the only thing I can think of.
Sorry, I'm reading chat. No, I'm saying LED would not change the lights. They would preserve the scene as was. Like, they would not.
I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they keep it for the most part, especially in, like, the first however many hours that they're, like, taking photos. It's like as is, as found. So
exactly, they have to. They have to.
I mean, obviously, when, like, in the days after, when they had, like, a private, you know, third party, you know, security there, like, lights had been kicked off at that point. I'm pretty sure. But these photos early on were right after they had gotten there. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And you can see in the kitchen the light was on because you can see Xana's DoorDash. You can see a knocked over plant.
Yep.
So all of those photos are from that night. So he would have been lit up like a Christmas tree.
Right.
Like, you would have seen him perfectly.
So the only way for so what you're saying is the only way for him not to see her would likely be if she was in her room with the light off, looking through the door.
Well, I'm not saying only way because I'm not God or I'm some omnipotent being.
Yeah,
but
no, but that would be pretty logical to think. Yeah, because, like, if she was,
like I said.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I just want because they say I say we go off of facts. Like, I've talked about this before. So many people, like, Occam's razor is you hear hooves, think horses, not zebras. The most likely explanation. It's pretty simple. Like, if we look at it from a logical perspective, like law enforcement does, and we know based on fact, she went to bed, as they say in the affidavit, lights were probably off, and we know also fact, based on the crime scene photos, all those lights were on. And if he's coming up from the stairs, he's going to have his face right on in that good vibes light. if you look at, like, if he comes up the stairs. So I don't want to, again, I'm just giving an idea, a theory. I think that's based on logic.
No, I like the way you think, and I think it's good to remind people too, because it can be like easy to just start thinking, oh, what if this or what if that, but you have to go with, obviously, like you said, what we know.
Right, and I think it's reasonable then to extrapolate from there. But like everyone's saying Jesse is wild. Like, I get it. This case, like, even I'm like a true crime aficionado. I love true crime. I have never been so captivated. And I think it's because so much of this was captured. Well, I think a couple of the reasons are they're Gen Z. I'm in my 30s. I'm an elder millennial. So when I hear the words following, I assume in person, not on Instagram. That was stalking in my day. You got followed in real life. But I find this, I think this is a really good also lesson for law enforcement and media and so on and so forth in the future. Like, cases like this will happen again. It's inevitable.
Right.
And look at the madness. It's completely out of control. And I'm shocked and I'll wrap it up. Like, there are crazy rumors out there about, like, recordings which are foolish and I don't even want to mention, like, but I'm shocked that law enforcement hasn't come out and denied from the minute this stupid stuff started flying around. Yeah, so like overall, are you pretty happy with it? Because they were pretty tight-lipped throughout the whole thing, and rightfully so. It sounds like they were pretty onto him from early on. But do you think they should have been a little more like, discounting some of these like initial things that were coming out, like recordings? And I know there was a lot with this case. Or do you think it was handled overall pretty well? I'm Canadian, so the cops always shut their mouths. We're never privy to any information. So I think, are you Canadian as well? I have family there, yeah. Okay, I remember there being some Canada connection. So this is really common. We're not even allowed cameras in the courtroom here, and like it's very different. So for me, I was like, oh, that's not new in my experience. But I mean, of course the cops, like, no offense, like like people on social media. This was like to keep the integrity of their investigation intact. Like, the affidavit is a masterclass in police work 101. It's really remarkable. The way they built this case, like casting a little net and a bigger net, and just really a solid building block. And it's a good old fashioned like police work. For sure. Now. So, but what I think now, because they have a person in custody and who's an alleged killer, allegedly, I mean, I think, like, because I see these things pick up steam on, TikTok, something becomes viral within 2 hours now. And so I've seen a lot of misinformation, a lot of rumor, a lot of BS, and I'm just surprised that they don't have the communications department. Well, I know it's a small police force, but that they're not on top of that. Right. Because it just, I think, sort of it makes it bigger. It stokes the flames of all of this. For sure. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you calling in. Now. No, thanks for calling, and I appreciate your perspective on it. Yeah, and yours too, always measured and with integrity and calmness, and your work is appreciated, and I'll keep doing it. Thanks so much. Well, have a good night. Thanks. Have a great. Yeah, you too. Yeah, bye now. Cheers. Great call, and a great reminder to continue to just look at what we know, what we know are facts, right? And that's and now that we have the affidavit, like, we have facts, we have things that law enforcement is deeming as facts. I mean, this is what they were able to use to get an arrest made on Bryan and get him back in Idaho charged with these crimes. So it can be easy sometimes to speculate and to maybe stray away from the facts, but that caller was a good reminder to stick with the facts. But that's a good point about the map, though, like with the lights being on. The only thing, because like if she had been out here, for example, he would have seen her and he would have made the conscious effort to let her survive, right? And so I think, like what she was saying, it's not the only scenario, but the scenario that makes the most sense in my head is that she is peeking through the bedroom with her lights off. He's lit up. She's not, his eyes are, adjusted to the brightness of the living room and the rest of the house. And then of course she's in a dark room. It would have been easy to
to miss her. You know, if she had been out here, for example, and he walked from this bedroom out into the hallway and out the kitchen, and he just walked past her and legitimately avoided her, that's a whole nother thing. And that was an effort to let her live. Laura, the caller. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate you calling.
Call from
John.
Hey, John. Thanks for calling.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much.
I just wanted to talk about the fact or the madness of the idea of someone going into this home, whether or not he knew everybody was in there, all of the victims. One man taking on 4 people.
Yeah.
Is absolutely insane. What his motive is, no one's going to know, and who knows if he'll ever tell us. But it's absolutely insane to think of this person going in there.
Yeah.
With solely a knife, if that's all he had, if he didn't have any other weapons. Taking that risk of that he could have been overpowered by these people. So I don't know. I don't know if this guy eventually wanted to be caught. Fits the profile of someone. These people have this separation from reality.
Right.
I
But
don't know.
still, even with that separation from reality, it's like even if he had not like stalked it, because we know that his phone pinged like in the area of the house 12 times leading up to the murders. Like, even if he wasn't necessarily stalking this house and realizing it, like, you're pulling up to a 3-level house in a college town near Greek Row where likely, other parties were probably happening nearby. It's like you just said, like, to just assume that you're going to not walk in on a house with like 10 to 15 people. I mean, this house certainly had parties at one time or another with 15 plus people. Like, how was he to not know that that wasn't the scenario inside the house, right? So it is crazy to think. Just what was he thinking? Did he just not care if he had gotten away with it? I mean, was he just going to go out?
And that's the thing. It's, I almost wonder if he cared whether or not he was caught.
Right.
His demeanor, if it was him, his demeanor is so laid back that I think in the back of his head he knew he was eventually going to get caught. How long it was going to take, who knows?
Yeah.
But like you said, it's absolutely insane. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'1", 230 pounds, and I'd be terrified to come on to that many people. There's you know in the back of the head, you know in the back of your head that they can overpower you. So how long he waited to maybe till they fell asleep, like they say, but it's absolutely frightening to think that someone would take that risk and go in there knowing he could have been overpowered.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Because you lose track of that, like, because you don't even. It's hard to think about like what someone like this would be thinking, and it's just like, what were they thinking? Because it's just so crazy. So thanks for bringing that up. Is there anything else you want to add?
Just the safety aspect. I totally agree with what you guys have been saying. At 35 years old, I completely try to keep things private and don't put anything out there. Like you said, you don't know who's watching you. You don't know who has something against you. Too much information has been put out there by individuals. You put yourself out there online and anybody can find you.
For sure.
And stay safe, man.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for calling in, and thanks for watching the stream.
Take it easy, man.
All right, you too. John I hopefully it's not the wrong name. Words of wisdom there, though. Be safe. In addition to the online stuff, social media, just in general, guys, I think a lot of what following kind of true crime cases has told me is like moments of vulnerability, like from your car to your house. That's another thing where I'm like very strict about being very safe and not just being on my phone, in the car, things like that.
Sonia.
Anyways, take another call here.
To accept.
Hey, Sonia, thanks for calling in.
Hey, new caller, first-time caller, a new subscriber. Absolutely love watching you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're awesome. So a couple things. You just were bringing up before, but clearly he drove by like 13 times, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they had those big picture windows where you could see in. So I'm thinking that he knew at least how many people live there.
Mm-hmm.
So he must have just targeted the two, and I think the others were collateral damage. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly if he did actually kind of stalk the house, he would have eventually. I mean, you can kind of, through reason of like looking at each of the windows, like be like, okay, there's probably a bedroom there, it's a second level,
Yeah.
probably another couple bedrooms. You could probably come to the conclusion there are likely maybe 6 people that live here, especially
Right.
during the college like semester, if it's a full house. But the idea of like not knowing how many are in the house at that time is the part I think that people are like, wow, because
So crazy.
yeah, if he had, imagine one
So
of the
crazy.
times he's like kind of stalking the house, if he was, and he saw just a house full of people walking around. I mean, it's safe to say that all
Wow.
of them don't live there. So yeah, I don't know. I think that there's a possibility that one of them was a target and he was just willing to risk going in there.
What a brazen monster.
I know. Yeah.
So I just want him to get, I want that girls to get justice. But the other thing that I was going to ask real quick here,
Yeah.
and then I'll let you go. Why do you think that they went public with the car when they clearly had it?
Oh yeah. So
That baffles me.
yeah, it makes me wonder like how much, well, that's a good point. I don't know. I'd have to think about the exact timeline of events again.
Right?
But if they were on to, yeah, because if they had the knife,
had
if they
the car
immediately,
early on.
and if they immediately had the knife sheath and like we're pulling DNA from that, and yeah,
Were
they
they trying
had,
to just calm us down, like to say
Yeah.
like, oh, we're on it, or like who knows?
Yeah,
But that baffles me.
yeah, because like they did say that they had reports of a car leaving the area and then reports of it even in Pullman arriving back at the
Yeah.
exact time. So it seems to me from the affidavit that they were like on to Bryan very early on, like
Right?
within weeks. So
Yeah.
yeah, to put the bolo out on the car is a little bit, yeah, I don't know.
Plus, I
It
mean,
is a little
makes
weird.
you question. Yeah, I mean, they are doing a great job. I
Yeah.
totally trust them. I think they're rock stars. But
For
you
sure.
know, I just would like to know their purpose
Their
of doing
exact
that. I'm
reason.
just really curious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, hopefully
yeah,
the
I'm sure
trial
it's a
will
good one.
reveal that. Yeah. Hopefully the trial will reveal all of
Yeah.
their reasonings behind every move they made. But hey, I'm just glad that they have a suspect at this point. So hopefully things
We
move
just
now.
have to have all this evidence stick. Hey, you keep doing
Yeah.
what you're doing. I'll keep watching.
Thanks so much for calling.
And become a member eventually here.
Oh yeah, no
Thanks.
worries. Thanks for the support. Yeah.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Awesome. Another great call. Thank you for that. Bob Murray, everyone. Let's see. We'll open that lineup in just a moment. Everyone was questioning how 911 could not have seen all the blood and said someone was passed out. I think DM was passed out. Bob, thank you for the 5. Yeah, we just don't know exactly what happened with DM. And there are certain things that may have not been included in the probable cause affidavit that would reveal more of that kind of time frame and like when 911 was called, what they actually saw. We don't even know exactly what surviving roommate called 911. So we just have to wait for more information to come out to be able to piece together more of DM's movements and why things happened in the order that they happened. We just really don't know what she actually saw. If she went out in the hallway and was looking towards Xana's room, for example, to see if anything was going on, she may not have even been able to really see into the room to know whether or not something really bad had happened. You know what I mean? So we just really don't know the exact things that happened. And Susie Blue, thank you for the 2. That rhymes. Susie Blue, thank you for the 2. Guys, if you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. We have almost 1,000 likes on the stream. And Lisa, thank you for becoming a level 1 supporter. Thank you guys so much.
Call from Brandy. To accept.
Hey, thanks for calling, Brandy.
Is this for the YouTube?
Yes, we are live.
All right, so I kind of think that he was stalking Kaylee and Maddie a while before because I think he had an obsession.
Yeah. I think one or both of them worked at a vegan restaurant as well. I think Maddie at one point, and a lot of people are thinking maybe it maybe could have started there if he was at the vegan restaurant at one point or another. Do you have any other thoughts, or do you think it was just an obsession that led to this?
Yeah, I think he definitely was stalking Kaylee for the longest time because he was following her on Instagram and social media, and he liked a bunch of her pictures, and it was his account. It wasn't like a fake one, because there were several of those made. But
gotcha. All
it was
right.
mostly Caitlyn.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. I think that obviously more will come out to verify that too, if that is truly what was going on. But yeah, I wasn't sure if the social media account that was allegedly liking and stuff, if that had been confirmed yet or not. I haven't been able to see, but I know that I had seen where some people were posting screenshots of an account that was potentially tied to him. So I think there's definitely a possibility of that for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. Well, thanks for calling in. Anything else to add, or is that kind of your thoughts?
No, that's really it. Just that he probably was super obsessed.
Yeah, yeah. And then everyone else is kind of wrong place, wrong time, really.
Yeah, I think Jana and Ethan were purely by accident for being awake.
Yeah. Man, it's awful to think about. But yeah. All right, cool. Well, thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good one. All right. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people share that same thought of just one or more of them being potentially stalked. And then, you know, obviously Ethan and Xana possibly being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or Kaylee or Maddie or one or the other, because I imagine he maybe didn't expect them both to be in the same room. Lisa, thanks again for becoming a level 1 supporter. Really appreciate that. I'm just showing some drone footage of the house. I wasn't sure. The last caller said something about a confirmation of him posting on their Instagrams. I don't know if that's confirmed yet. I would love to know, and I'm sure that they're going to figure out any actual social media accounts that are tied to Bryan, if there's any interaction there, but that would say a lot as well in terms of motive and
call from Julie.
Things like that. Hey, Julie, thanks for calling.
Hi, I just found your show from following this case, so thank you for taking calls. I have, it's a combo of question or just comment, but if y'all remember that same night, the dog that was skinned, I just have a theory that I'm assuming, you know, this person was amping themselves up to do this horrendous thing to people. And I don't know if anybody has been talking about that, or if we know what happened to that poor dog.
Yeah, the Australian Shepherd that was found in like October or whatever.
Oh, was that in October? I thought it was the same night that they found the dog.
Oh, it might have been. I don't know if it could have been. But
either way, like, given the fact that he did what he did with such a gnarly knife, and the dog was, I don't know, it's just a theory, and I haven't heard anybody connecting the two. So anyway, I just wanted to hear people's thoughts, your thoughts on that, and that's all I got. And
awesome.
Thanks for covering them.
Yeah, of course, and thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, so the dog, I'm pulling that up now. I forgot about that. That was something that was brought up kind of earlier on. A dog skinned just miles from where the murders took place weeks before. So yeah, it was back in October. Impossible to say whether that's connected or not. I'm sure, I don't know. Then again, I don't know that they'd be able to go back and get DNA from all that to see if it was him, but.
Call from
Joey.
Hey Joey, thanks for calling in.
Hey, how are you? Love
well.
your show.
Thanks.
Just started getting into it, and love how you manage the animation, the humor with the seriousness. It's very good.
Yeah, there's like a fine line with that. It's like one of those things. It's obviously serious subjects, but you gotta kind of lighten it up a little bit here and there. But thanks.
Yeah, the sus bus, it rules. Great.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, 2 points I want to make. One is I understand why people are really jumping on the BTK thing, associating him so closely with the BTK murder, just because of his professor, who I think, by the way, should be key in communicating with him at some point to get some information later down the line. But I'm just shocked that the public's not tying the crime more closely to Bundy, just because it's this whole thing is so reminiscent of the Chi Omega bizarre murders with the log, where he just went room to room to room.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people always felt that Ted had been doing this because he had asked where the death penalty was. They told him Florida, and that's why he had gone there from Ann Arbor. But so I'm surprised that people are not linking this more to the Ted Bundy crimes.
Yeah.
And particularly the Chi Omega situation, and also that Bundy had a history of working for law enforcement. He actually at one point even saved someone. I think someone snatched a purse, and he had just like Kohberger had helped someone I think a nurse or someone. It was with CPR or something.
Oh yeah.
Bundy.
That's
so there's so many links to the and Bundy also, although he did had a long relationship with this single mother person, he still was very much never really had too many girlfriends. I mean, he dated here and there, but nothing. He was still an oddball, right?
Right.
So I just wanted to. What are your thoughts about it? I was just kind of shocked that no one's talking about this more, about this Chi Omega thing. And
yeah, I'd have to look more into like the similarities. Like, do you know how many people were? I guess it doesn't necessarily matter, but how many people he killed in the Chi Omega situation? Because I knew it was like the room to room thing, and there was people like sleeping and whatnot, similar kind of thing.
There was about, I think he attacked 4. I think 2 died. I'm not quite sure on the number, but I will say this. This is another point I want to make.
Yeah.
The Chi Omega case they had a witness, and the girl, just like this situation, the woman saw him with a dark mask on.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not identified by having bushy eyebrows. He was identified by having a sharp nose. And she was the key witness in the trial. That basically, that was the lock. That was kind of like when you know. Yeah, so it's very similar to this eyewitness.
Yeah. I think even if there's not, I mean, obviously there's some similarities there with the Chi Omega thing, but the whole law enforcement thing is weird. Him studying criminology, and then of course Bundy, and I think even Dennis Rader, BTK, had some, I know he was like a scouts guy. He was kind of, I think at one point, maybe like volunteer law enforcement or something. And so I think that's why a lot of people have jumped on that. But like Bryan had allegedly like signed up for some internship, even I think with Moscow or with Pullman PD years before or a year before. And so like, yeah, not the fixation, but just the ties with law enforcement and then having this happen. Yeah, I think there definitely are some similarities there. And it's scary to think that someone that, like, from the outside looking in, this guy was probably not on anybody's radar, and that yet this happened is terrifying.
Yeah, and another strange thing about this is one could say that he failed, but he actually didn't fail as far as being some kind of reputable serial murderer, because in the end, I think this case is going to drag on, and I think it's going to be really up for grabs as far as if they don't find that weapon. I mean, this could be another Casey Anthony situation. So it's kind of creepy. It's very scary.
Yeah.
As far as what the system can do with this, because it's so obvious. I think it's so clear that this is the guy. Now it's kind of like, is he smart enough to keep his cool as he's been doing, and just let the system, run its course?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know, but hey, that's you bring up some good points, and I appreciate you calling in. So we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, man.
Yeah, love your show. Thank you.
Appreciate you. See ya. We'll open that back up in a moment. Good calls from everyone so far. Everyone's brought some interesting points to the table. That caller is basically saying, like, you know, a lot of people are saying, you know, Bryan failed, like he didn't get away with this, but is this a failure in his eyes? Because the caller before, I already forgot his name, but we were talking about the sheer brazenness of just walking into this place, not knowing, like, did he just not care if he would have not gotten away with this? I mean, he possibly didn't know what he was walking into. And so is this even a failure in his eyes? Does he care that he's caught at this point? Who knows? But Angela, thank you for the $5 dancing lemon. Thank you for that super sticker, Angela. And thank you, Lauren, I believe, because you called in. Thanks for having me. Of course, Lauren. Thank you for the super sticker, Lauren. I really appreciate the different callers and the different calls that we've had tonight. We're going to take 2 more calls, guys. So if you're still trying to ring in, try to call in. The number's 305-985-2690. We'll take 2, maybe 3 more calls. I'm enjoying these calls, guys. So thank you guys for adding to the conversation tonight. If you haven't already, hit the like button, guys. I know I've asked you several times, but we have 1,700 people in here, and we have close to 1,000 likes. It really helps out the stream. So if you haven't already, tap that like button and subscribe to the channel. The Google Voice number is still open if you'd like to call in. Man, it's crazy. This animation is really solid, though. We have TikToks filmed in this area as well. I didn't play this earlier, so you get a better idea of the location.
Call from
Sean.
Hey, Sean. Thanks for calling.
Hey. First off, love the show. I've been glued to it for a couple hours now. Wasn't expecting that, so good stuff.
Yeah.
One thing that is I'm just really kind of shocked that no one's mentioning is the burglary charge. Wasn't he charged with felony burglary or something like that?
That was his 5th charge. Yeah, 4 counts of first-degree murder and then felony burglary.
Yeah, so that implies that he must have taken something from the house, right?
I don't know. Like, I need to look into the exact definition in Idaho state law of burglary. If it's just because I don't know. That's a good point. Let me look that up. Because, yeah, you would think that that's what that means. Maybe that's just breaking. And I don't know if that's considered, like, burglary if he, like, I don't know if that, there's no sign of forced entry, I don't think. Because if you, like, broke, like, the door, for example, could you catch a burglary charge? I need to look into that. That's a good question.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I've been surprised no one's been asking about it, just because, you know, it seems like that might be something else that ties him to the scene if he had taken something from the house.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yeah, so I pulled it up here. It's going to be delayed on your end if you have the stream pulled up, but felony burglary and then Idaho, if you type that in on Google, the first thing that I'm seeing is any person who enters any house, room, apartment, store, warehouse, shop, whatever, will commit, with intent to commit any theft or felony is guilty of burglary. So I guess the intent of committing a felony, which is murder. So even if it's not theft, I guess in Idaho, he had intent to commit a felony. So that would be felony burglary, I guess, was the charge.
Okay.
So because he had intent to kill, that would probably be why he caught that 1 charge of felony burglary.
Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah.
That's just been spinning around in my head ever since. And, you know, I was thinking maybe they got something else on him that ties him to the scene. But,
yeah. That's a good question, though. Some people, Mel in the chat just said, good question. I hadn't even thought to bring that back up as well. I just saw it as a charge, and I'm like, oh, 1 count felony burglary. Didn't even think to look that up.
Yeah.
So every caller has had like a new thing to add. So, yeah. What else do you have? Anything else?
That's mainly it. But, you know, I was just going down that road. If they, you know, maybe they could be just trying to stack the charges on him, like you were saying, you know, if he had. But I guess that would also imply that the cops are thinking that he had planned this out and there was, you know, like he had intended this beforehand, you know. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. But, yeah, I was just that's been driving me crazy thinking about that one. So yeah, we'll just have to see what comes out.
For sure. Yeah, I'm definitely I'm excited to see. Hopefully it moves quickly. Obviously things like even speedy trials aren't speedy enough for people like us that are fixated on these things, but I'm excited to see how it plays out for sure. Hopefully we'll have some justice soon. Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks for all your content and the work that you do.
Yeah, of course.
I will keep watching.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep. See you. Another great call, clearing up the 5th charge, felony burglary. That is apparently because he entered the house. Obviously, it's no forced entry, and I think I may have missaid that there. I don't believe they had ever said anything about forced entry. So because of his intent to commit a felony or theft, which in his case was a felony being murder, that's why he caught that felony burglary charge. Mel, why would he take the sheath inside? Mel, good question. This guy wasn't probably thinking very clearly, or he just was wanting to leave pieces behind. Did he want to get caught eventually? I don't know. Was he testing the system? All right, last call.
Call from LaDonna.
Hey, LaDonna, thanks for calling.
Hi. I was just wondering, are you still alive?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, Xana had called for a DoorDash delivery, and it's so weird that nobody's talking about the guy that delivered whatever she ordered.
Yeah. So obviously that guy's going to probably be pretty protected in terms of, he's a pretty key witness to validate their timeline. So I imagine they've obviously talked to this guy and have issued him to keep very quiet about it, or, told him to keep very quiet about it. But it is a big question because, that timeline of delivering food at right around the time that Bryan would have gotten there is pretty substantial. So, yeah, I completely agree. It's weird that not more, there's not more talked about around that DoorDash. Oh no. The call dropped. Okay. Well, to the person that just called and asked about the DoorDash, I apologize. I think that's a sign to end the calls for tonight. Thank you to the people who called. Sorry that last call got cut off a little bit sooner than it should have. But yeah, to what I was getting at there, yeah, I don't think that they're going to release any information around the DoorDash because, yeah, I'm sure he's in the, yeah, okay, so LC says he's mentioned in the affidavit or named in the affidavit, but it's redacted. Absolutely a key witness. He probably was at the front door. BK went in via the back. Yeah, I mean, they're going to definitely keep that quiet for sure. But yeah, thank you to everyone who called in. I'm going to go ahead and unpin this message. All of the calls were very productive, and that is how we like to do it here. So once again, if you guys want to check out this this 3D animation where you can kind of buzz around the house and the property and get a better look at kind of what it looked like from the inside, that is linked down below. Once again, thank you to the people who have liked the stream. We have 1,053 likes, 1,700 people still in here. Wow. Thank you guys. Let me read some of your guys' comments here while we wind down the stream. I wonder if he saw Bryan's car. Jill, that's a great, I mean, that could be a huge thing if the DoorDash guy or girl rather could have verified seeing him in that area even after the murders. Maybe they had a delivery nearby, who knows. Hope, anybody see me? Hope, we absolutely see you. I am now going to be reading comments, so if I've missed any comments, I apologize. LC, hope to see you again. LC, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for calling. Thanks for the super sticker. And absolutely thank you for shouting out the mods in the positive chat. We like to keep it yeah, we like to keep it pretty chill in here. So thank you. And thanks for stopping by, Elsie. Let's see DM view from the room. Barb, I'll go back to that now. I'll go back to the 3D view. So once again, we don't know exactly where DM was standing. We do know DM was likely standing, if I had to guess, in the doorway here to her room on the second floor. Ethan and Xana's room once again. Oh, let me zoom out a little. Sorry. So DM likely in this room here. Door cracked, possibly lights out. We know Ethan and Xana's room, or sorry, Xana's, where Ethan was with Xana, was down here. So if he walked through here and past DM, she would have likely been standing in her doorway. Latent footprint right down here, and then exit right there. So that's that kind of view. LaDonna, we got cut off. LaDonna, thank you for calling in. Sorry we got cut off there. Really wish we could have talked a little bit more, but I can't call you back, so sorry about that. Laura says just got off the sus bus part. So Laura is far back on the stream right now. But thank you. There's definitely a mountain of evidence to be revealed. Yeah, Rick, I completely agree. Thanks for another great stream. Thank you, Mello. Appreciate it. DoorDash delivery at 4 a.m. I didn't know they had drivers all night. Most pizza places latest is 1 a.m. maybe. Yeah. It makes me wonder where if that DoorDash was from the Jack in the Box. Does the Jack in the Box, let me see, does Jack in the Box stay open until, like, is it 24 hours in Moscow? Because there was a Jack in the Box, I think it was Jack in the Box DoorDash bag from that photo. In the box. So yeah, they have, whoa, Jack in the Box permanently closed? Hold on. Okay, I'll go in DM's room. We can't really do much in here, but this is confirmed as her room. We can stand kind of where the door would have been, right, like right here. But the door doesn't technically open. It just goes to the hallway, so. But this would have been like where he would have walked past DM out there. Excuse me. Let me go back to this. I'm confused now. The DoorDash, was it really a... Why is it not showing up? That DoorDash photo isn't showing up for me anymore. Weird. Well, we showed it earlier in the stream. I'm pretty sure it was Jack in the Box. When did they close? Hold on. Jack in the Box, Moscow, Idaho. What the heck? Now I'm wondering if it was even Jack in the Box. Anyways, okay. Well, either way, you guys were talking about the order. Lisa, thank you for the super sticker. Lisa, appreciate you. Oh, Sean says Pullman Jack in the Box. Wow, do you think it was Pullman? Let's look. Was there a Jack in the Box in Pullman? See, this would just go to show that like Pullman, let's see, people probably, okay, so there's a Jack in the Box in Pullman, Jack in the Box in Pullman, and it is open, it closes at 10 p.m. Weird. So we don't even know. Divine timing saying Jack in the Box is permanently closed in Moscow. Yeah. Okay, so weird though that you would get that delivered. We don't know if that exact bag is actually the DoorDash, the photo, which I can't pull back up for some reason. But so I don't know if that photo of the Jack in the Box in the kitchen was the exact. That could have been a different 24/7. Matt says they deliver 24/7. Okay, so they may deliver 24/7. Their actual dining room may. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. They probably have a 24-hour delivery. Okay. Anyways, thanks for clearing that up, guys. Mary Green says maybe it wasn't Jack in the Box. Yeah. And Teresa, good point. It could have been an older DoorDash, but we do know that there was a photo of the Jack in the Box in the kitchen. So could have been a different DoorDash indeed. All right. What are we having here? Google image. It's just Jack in the Box. Yeah. Let me try to find it here, because I've been trying to pull it up. Yeah. Okay. So here's the actual. It's really hard to see it. Jack in the Box. There it is. So there's the Jack in the Box. Whether or not that was the one from the that evening or not, who knows. TD McCoy, shoot, I've got to go. I'll check back. TD, no worries. Please, if you haven't heard already, TD McCoy, please reach out to me. My email is in the About section of the YouTube channel. I want to get the mods together in a chat. So please reach out, TD. It's not crucial, but if you could, that would be amazing. Angela, that's a good point. What if the DoorDasher told law enforcement about the white Elantra? I think that there's a lot that the DoorDasher probably knows, or maybe not much at all. We have no idea. So certainly the DoorDasher could have some valuable information. We'll just have to see. Oh, another thing, guys, there was this audio that was released, and I guess that was like completely debunked. So there's like some audio from a nearby camera that apparently is debunked by this channel here, Couch Clips. So if you guys want to go check that out, that apparently got debunked. And yeah, all right, couple more chats I'm going to read here, and then we're going to sign off. Please note, his mom cares about her son's life, but her son didn't care about all these victims. Lene, I did hear approximately a week after the crime that there was one more female upstairs, but that was quickly scheduled to squelched to silence. Interesting. Yeah, there's so much more about this that we probably don't know that wasn't included in the affidavit or that was redacted. Is that a date on the bag with Xana's name on it, top left corner? Let me look. Was that a date? Let me look if it was a date here. Come on. No, it doesn't look like a date. It just says, bag and then of, and then it has her name here. It could have been there could be a date up on the sticker up here, but it's impossible to say at this point. Jenna sent a photo. DoorDash delivers past 3 on Friday and Saturday. I changed my address to the King address, and this is what it says. Oh, thank you. So this is hold on, let me this is why I like to have my Twitter open for people. Jenna sent this on Twitter. This she changed her address to the address in Moscow, and it looks like on Fridays and Saturdays they deliver. So that must have been like the final delivery then. This DoorDasher must have accepted this order, and then it got to her 6 a.m. to 3:50 a.m., 4 a.m. to 3:49 a.m. Weird. Wait, they start at 4. So it looks like, interesting. I don't know. I'm sure that there's not a ton of DoorDashers though in that area. I'll be honest. it's not a huge place. So I bet that there's only a few. But then again, it's a college town. You never know. Ikadmel reviewed some old creepy forum messages that BK wrote. So Jenny, I believe that we've also covered those. I don't know if you were in the stream earlier, but we went through these messages. I believe this is what you're talking about, Jenny. We went through this earlier in the stream. Thanks for mentioning it, though. Okay. Miss Fish is asking to see view. Red circle from DM's room. You have not clicked on it, and it shows her view. Oh, thank you, Alicia. Let me go back to DM's room. Did I not click on every little circle in there? Oh, thank you. Okay. Thank you. This is the view. Okay. Thanks, Alicia. And thanks, Miss Fish. This would be the potential view of DM from the cracked door in her room. You can see the arrows and then the latent footprint from the affidavit, and then he would have exited the confirmed exit. Thank you, Alicia, for tagging me in that. And thank you, Miss Fish. I did not. I thought I clicked all the little, what did I click? Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't click any of those. I clicked the bedroom photos, but thanks for that. Okay, cool. That's a big shout out to the mods. Thank you to the mods in the stream. Nope, not trigger warning. Thank you, mods. There's the thank you, mods animation. Guys, big shout out to the mods in the chat. Shout out to you guys also for just being here, adding to the conversation. Why is the trigger warning thing still going? There. Okay, it's not. I don't think it is. Thanks to the callers who called in, added to the conversation. I think we're going to call it there. I didn't realize we've been streaming for 2 hours and 46 minutes. I took a couple days off of, streaming since Tuesday when he appeared in Idaho. It's good to take breaks, guys. Like we talked about in the beginning of the stream, mental health reminders, take breaks when you need to from these types of things. It can be interesting and exciting to follow these cases and try to figure out why these types of things happen, but it's also good to take a break. So if you need to take a break, please do so. Hopefully we will be back, I believe Tuesday, I think, or Thursday. Maybe it's Thursday. The 12th is when he is to appear next. I think that's what it is. It's Thursday the 12th. So we will for sure be back on Thursday the 12th. But we'll just have to see. Love eating breakfast when I drink. But yeah, thank you guys all for joining. I think I'm going to end it there. Thank you for going live. Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it. Rye, not calling for 8 hours when you know there was an intruder is so weird. Yeah, we went into that a little bit already. It is a bit strange, but I'm sure there's going to be more that comes out to better explain her reasoning. Darla says the view is still from the hallway. Yeah, that view is still kind of from the hallway, but it gives you a better idea of kind of the angle in which she would be looking. The house layout is a little bit weird. But yeah. Oh, I never used this view either throughout the stream. You guys can't even read the chat though. It's a little bit weird. This view's a little bit weird. I probably won't use this often. Anyways. This is also a little bit strange. I'm trying to figure out the new stream setup. Joyce, thank you. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Angela. Thank you to the mods that were here tonight. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm rambling at this point. I'm going to go, guys. Thanks so much. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the channel. We hit 30,000 subscribers recently, so it's very, very cool. We are growing, and I appreciate you guys being here. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.